The ASTROLABE.
Time to end this suffering. I need a minute to myself. So I drift away. You will never get to me. What can't be done, I'll do myself. So
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're gonna win more.
Another Labe, another instance of Bobby Ballbags fighting with the AI mod on the Kick chat. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the ASTROLABE. It is Monday night, and we are back to a normal Labe schedule. Ordinary Labes, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, generally. Saturday, we will do the Pseudolabe. For at least another several weeks. We'll see how things change. Be prepared for a little bit of flux here as we get very near the launch of the full EWBSX project. Just be prepared, be agile, be ready to maybe follow me here or follow me there, or big disruption in the schedule. I know it's kind of been a normal thing with the Labe, but I just want to keep you guys apprised of that. Big, exciting things to come. This is part of the reason why I'm not super motivated now to try to figure out workarounds for certain things. It's like, if you've been listening for a while, you know how the shit works. Kick is going to be kind of wonky, but it's the place where everyone is primarily gathered. I'm also on streaming on Rumble, which generally tends to be pretty good about not yoinking content. I haven't even had a flag or a demonetization or anything like that over there. So in the out of 3 months maybe that I've been streaming over to Rumble, I have made $8. So things are going great on Rumble. But it's a nice backup for whenever streams get taken down elsewhere. I am continuing to upload to YouTube for the replay gang if you would like to watch on YouTube, but just be prepared for that to go down at any time, and you're going to have to go look for it. Ever since I got the channel strike, I've talked to multiple people now who've been like, yeah, your channel used to pop up for me regularly. Now I never see it. I have to actively go look for it. Yeah, that's what happens when you get a channel strike. So my desired future is one wherein I don't have to depend upon anyone else's software for anything. I want to own everything. I want to have complete and total control over the vertical stack of every single aspect of the thing. And I believe that future is not that far away from us. I think it is conceivable, but it just takes a lot of work. Ninja Space says, I just suffer through Kick replay. Poor East Coast boys. See, honestly, if I was a replay gang person, I would watch it on Substack. I think Substack has the best interface for video, background play, the most seamless. And I guess I also don't spend any time scrolling on Substack. I just post stuff there and don't pay attention to anything else. So I just have Substack playing in the background while I'm on X or wherever. So Substack is where I would gather if I was a replay gang. But I appreciate every one of you, everyone, the way that you actually get here. I've also noticed now that the chat thing is like right now it's hung up at Slutty Milk saying greetings, and that was a while ago. The chat is not regularly updating, and I haven't been able to tell why exactly that is. I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna keep pushing the stuff out there, and if it's wonky, it's wonky. Pretty soon, I think I gotta just let the cat out of the bag. I want to stream exclusively from my own platform, and I will use the other platforms. I will post clips over there. I will, whatever. I'll do shorts. I'll do the 20 to 40 minute clips posted on YouTube or whatever. But then I just want to stream. There you go. Yeah, see, there you go. It works. I just had to talk about it. I still haven't figured out exactly whether it doesn't have to do with which window is live or anything like that. So everything is just duct tape and baling wire for the time being. And I'm working on getting to where I just exclusively stream from my own platform. If you wanna catch it there, then you can catch it there, and I'll make it easy for you. And it'll be so much easier on my end. Anyways, so how you guys doing? How you guys doing here on a lovely Monday evening? I've got some good stuff for us. I got probably too much. We'll see if I have to lop some stuff off the back end. If we have time, we'll talk about some AI related things, some fascinating projects people have undertaken using AI, and then some general commentary about its effect on creativity and zest for life and all that sort of thing. We'll see if we get into that. We'll see if we have time, because I got a whole bunch of other things as well. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about Karg Island and the Strait of Hormuz. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not following this stuff super closely right now. It's fog of war. There's no way to know. Like, things are changing quickly. There's no way to know who's doing what. There's lots of high stakes maneuvering and negotiating, and the psyops are flying hot and heavy. You will drive yourself absolutely mad if you try to hang on every single twist and turn of the narrative over the next couple of, I would say probably few months. I think by the time the summer hits, I think things are going to settle into, and we're not even going to be thinking about it. That's kind of where I'm operating right now. There's the outside possibility that it drags all the way into the fall, and depending on how you want to evaluate things, like that, these things are all very much in flux. But that's the thing; it's like everything is in flux right now. So hanging too closely on anything is just going to exasperate you. If you're feeling the sense of exasperation, go find a project. Go start something. It could be anything. Maybe this is when you need to start going to the gym. Or maybe you need to, there's like house repairs that you need to do. Or maybe there's a business that you've always thought about starting. Now is the time to do that. And this is the thing, is that every time you have a big like crisis moment where everyone's like, oh, car crash, and they're sitting there staring at the car crash, those are the opportunities to move. Humanity has this tendency to, like, if you're walking down the street and someone's just standing there just like pointing up in the air, people are going to stop and they're going to look up and be like, and their situational awareness is going to be at 0. That's the time when everyone starts to move. That's when the winners start moving at that point. They're the ones who get the head start. In the times of you could think of it as, there's the times where everything's kind of coasting, but it's kind of rigid. It's kind of locked in place. And if you want to change lanes, you've kind of got to gradually move your way over and then gradually back. Whereas these are times when everything gets much more fluid and flexible, and you can just kind of zoop. You can change lanes a lot quicker, a lot easier. But you have to be high agency. How was I talking about that? I don't remember. I was saying something about Iran. Oh, I was saying I haven't been following all of this really super closely right now. I've just got kind of a baseline understanding, and then I just look for. Honestly, I haven't spent that much time on the timeline because I've realized that I've customized my notifications, the accounts that I have notifications turned on for. I've customized them well enough that they're generating I don't know. It wasn't a way I ever would have thought of using X, but I kind of eventually got there by just being like, oh, I want to keep track of what this person's doing. Oh, I want to see what he has to say about that. He's down an interesting rabbit hole right now. Let me see what everything he has to say for the next few days. And then I'm just kind of checking notifications as they come through, got it on the watch, and just kind of try to sort of put it into the subconscious and maintain a little construct in the back there. And now I'm getting to where like I'm following enough people that I kind of know everything that I need to know without necessarily digging into the timeline directly, because the timeline is just absolute fucking. It's off its rocker completely. It's either the best posting that you've ever seen about the most incredible things happening, or just complete and utter dog vomit. The most Looney Tunes, like own fart sniffing posts that I've ever seen in my life. So much melodrama. And then there's some shit that's happening that's just really freaking cool. And I go out and I go for a walk around the house, and I play with my son. We taught him how to empty the kitty litter today. Life's good. Life's good. You look on the timeline and everyone tells you should be really mad about everything. But like for once, it actually feels like Patriots are in control. And I like the feeling of Patriots being in control. Is there a possibility that down the line, suddenly we're in a state where Patriots are no longer in control? Perhaps, sure. But this is the way that people should feel. People should just feel like, yeah, Patriots are in control. And then Patriots need to be in control. What happened was Patriots stopped being in control. Everyone felt like Patriots are in control. And it was non-Patriots in control. Those who hate Patriots were in control. But once you've got sufficient evidence that there are Patriots in control, at least to a certain extent, you can start kind of mapping their trajectory, and you're like, okay, all right, there are better men than I who are directly on the front lines of all of this, managing it and dealing with it. And I've tracked their track record for months or years and satisfied myself that this is their trajectory. Baking in the fact that there's self-interest, there's greed, there's lust for power, like accounting for all of these things. It's pretty clear that this is the trajectory. And here's some points where it could fall off, but there's nothing that I can accomplish by sitting here and tracking every single little move. Now I have to do a certain amount of it because that's part of the service that I provide here. Is you don't necessarily have to go digging through all the little weird nooks and crannies on the timeline, because I'll do it for you. So I'm just kind of automating my, see, here we go. Here's your AI thing. I'm kind of automating the service that I'm providing for you. I'm automating an element of it. Slutty Milk says, everyone's so democracy brained, they can't just relax, understand directionality and long-term thinking and see where things are headed. Yes. And their minds are being inundated with slop. Like official reports from the Iranian foreign minister, slop. If you think that the official reports from the Iranian foreign minister matter beyond just sort of like tangentially as part of other things, if you think this is something you need to hang on that should really be coloring your picture of what's happening, you don't understand what's happening. There's a lot that can just be sort of gleaned from context clues. Total air superiority. It's completely undeniable that they have complete air superiority. That's all you need to know. And now there's going to be a little stand down over the Strait of Hormuz. And that's either going to go one way or another way, or perhaps a third or fourth or a fifth or a sixth or a seventh or an eighth way. Any of these major... If somebody had told you ahead of time, what Trump's going to do is he's going to go in and he's going to yoink out Maduro. Just zoop, go in there. He's going to goy beam all of Maduro's guards. And they're going to come out of it talking like they saw an alien. They're going to put Maduro on a paddy wagon and drive him around town giving the thumbs up. And they're going to install his second in command and just... There we go. That's it. Now Venezuela's starting to flourish and thrive, and could there be something else that happened? Sure, maybe, but that something else isn't happening right now. You don't need to go look for it. If you're going to go look for it, then go to Venezuela. But here in America, we're not looking for problems in Venezuela. We solved the problems in Venezuela. And there are people responsible for Venezuela who are responsible for finding those problems. And if they don't do it, then shame on them. It'll be just like the last century has been. Nothing new. But there's the distinct possibility that the incentives are correctly aligned now, that it will just continue as is. We are in a completely new era of politics. It does not work like it has worked for the past however many decades you want to partition it off at. There are some ways in which it's still similar. It's derivative of that, but it's also substantially different. We've never seen a imperial scale United States government that operates the way that the Trump government does. And that's even accounting for like a completely bogged down obstructionist Congress. You know, that's a feature and a bug. Most people focus on how it's a bug. It's also a feature. We are in uncharted territory. And if you try to follow every last little twist and turn and you fall for every single psyop and you jump down, you've got to learn how to thin slice. You can't just jump down every single narrative. You've got to be able to have a comprehensive enough picture of the world around you, be tuned into reality enough that you can look at something and be like, that smells like bullshit. I don't need to go investigate what brand of bullshit it is. I just recognize that's bullshit. Iran is holding the United States hostage via the Strait of Hormuz. Trump is in over his head. They had no idea that they were going to try to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, even though that's what all anybody has ever talked about when they've talked about the Strait of Hormuz for the last half a century. This is the entire premise of the Iranian power structure, is that they control the Strait of Hormuz. And you're telling me that Donald fucking Trump didn't know that? He needs smart people there to help him because he big dumb guy who just watched Gorilla Channel. You guys are Russiagate libs. Those of you who are propagating this horse shit. This is like Trump paid Russian hookers to pee on him. It's completely and utterly inane. Like, it's plausible in the sense that if you knew there was a guy named Donald Trump and you knew there were Russian hookers, then conceivably you could tell a story where Donald Trump has Russian hookers piss on him. But it has no bearing on reality. But all the fashionable people, it's easy. It's easy to be like, Trump's a retard. Trump has no idea what he's doing. You are diving right into the current and just going right along with the flow. You're not some dissident. You are a mouthpiece of what we call the regime. You are a golem of the regime. Just passively regurgitating what they're conditioning you to say. You're like hypnotized. They're like Jews, black people, housing, women, immigrants, Jews, black people, immigrants, Jews, black people. And, yeah, Trump's a retard. Trump don't know what he's doing. Trump needs me to tell him what to do. Give me a fucking break. Stop consuming slop. Instead, consume things like this.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known.
Don't know where it goes, but it's only me and I walk alone. I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps and I'm the only one and I walk alone.
It's insane!
I walk alone, I walk alone.
My shadow's the
I don't know who that guy
only
is.
one that walks beside me, and my shallow heart's the only thing that's beating. Fine.
Masterpiece!
Free me.
This man is at the top of his industry. He has dedicated himself to his craft, and he has attained absolute mastery. S-tier internet content. Thank you to that guy. Also, this guy. This one's going to divide opinion here. Some people are going to be really, really upset that this exists and that I'm subjecting them to it. Others are going to be like, this is fucking awesome.
How can you see into
I got to get the full view box.
If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you, Dave! Dave Johnson! With the 5 gifted subs.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world. Wow. So gay. So gay.
So incredibly gay. Thank you, sir. Congratulations to Trust Plan Sar, Caradwin, Wigatine Maxer, Hope Pilled, and Blaine Morgan. I know every single one of those names. You guys are core patriots. Congratulations to you, and shout out to Dave. Dave coming through with the teal bucks. Okay, back to this. Nobody panic! Emo Yacht Rock! Brought to you by Unresolved 2000s Nostalgia. We've reached the why did he do that section. It just keeps going! Comments are killing me. We are completionists! We must listen to the end. Now, for all of those who I did not drive away with that one, I'm definitely going to lose you with this one. In honor of the life of Benjamin Netanyahu, I present Dixie's Land in Hebrew.
רוצה להיות בדרום, על אש משווה, טבק מטות בדרום, 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 דיקסילנד. בדיקסילנד שם נהותתי בייז, החורף קר וצ'וק בהום, בדרום, בדרום, בדרום דיקסילנד. הייתי רוצה להיות
דיקסריו.
בדרום בדיקסילנד, בדרום מאשר לחיות ולמות בדיקסי רחוק, רחוק, רחוק בדרום בדיקסי רחוק, רחוק.
Okay, I won't continue to subject you to that. The Frenchman, of course, says I laughed uncontrollably for the entire first minute. P.S. This is my ideology. Stephen Miller betrayed us. See, this is what they're afraid Stephen Miller is trying to do to him. All right, now, here you go. Here is some actual Patriot content.
Okay, so my girlfriend swears that butter on a grilled cheese is better than mayonnaise.
Hold on just a damn minute. Mayonnaise on a grilled cheese sandwich instead of butter? That sounds pretty messed up to me. Let's test it. Now listen, I'm gonna do the outsides of the bread with mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
Now on this one, we're going to just use plain old great value butter. I'm not even going to cheat and use that Kerrygold Real Irish butter. No, I'm going to use great value butter on this one. So there's no confusion. I'm going to cut the corner off of the butter one.
This is why the internet was invented.
The one that's got the corner cut off of it, that's the one we did with butter. The one that ain't got the corner cut off of it, that's the one that's got the mayonnaise on it.
Mayonnaise.
I'm going to go in with my butter side down. 2 slices of American cheese.
American.
And then
because
cap
of course.
it butter side up. This is the mayonnaise side one. Put that mayonnaise side down. Put me a couple of slices of good old American cheese on there. And cap it just like that. Let her go to heating up and go to toasting up. Here they are. This is the mayonnaise one. You can see from the corner cut out, this is the butter one. Let's get that old taste test. I'm going to go in with that butter one first. There's that corner we cut off of it. By God, now that's what a grilled cheese sandwich is supposed to taste like. I'm a little bit nervous about this one.
This guy, this is upon this man's back, the West was built. This man is you could spend the rest of your life gathering every last little bit of knowledge contained in his brain, and you wouldn't be able to do it. This man has forgotten more than any of us are ever going to learn in one lifetime. And guess what? Patriot.
I'll get us started.
Thank you, sir. 1488, the first 1488 toward the $400 goal. Reminder, form.kingpill.com. Go sign up. Yes, MGAS1 is now on Mrs. Kingpill's nice list. She's keeping track. And I think she was giving credit for gifted subs too. So gifted subs get you on the nice list from Mrs. Kingpill. All right, now back to the Patriot.
You see, there ain't no corners cut off of
Patriot.
it. This is the mayonnaise one.
Mayonnaise.
Here we go.
I'm going to have to start saying that. Teach Eastwood.
Oh, that's fucking horrible. Good God. I'll feed that to the dog. Now this one, how in the fuck could anybody eat that shit? That mayonnaise one, it just tastes awful. I mean, that's just...
He's personally offended.
I don't think his girlfriend had an argument with him about it, because I don't think he's got a girlfriend. No. His girlfriend has a penis. Butter. Love all of you. Truly do.
Oh, the smile at the end. I want to be
so
this
my
guy's
girlfriend-
friend.
Okay, so my girlfriend.
Look at that.
Truly do.
Let's make this guy the mascot of America. Specifically for Barack Obama. His girlfriend's got a penis. And here is a future. Here is the past version of that guy.
Elderly.
What does elderly even mean?
It's when you're old.
You're not even old, Mama.
But I got wrinkles.
That doesn't mean you're old. I've got it.
No, not ankles. Wrinkles. I got wrinkles, look. Right here. And right here. That means I'm old.
You got wrinkles on her bones.
They're calling it the most Eastwood video to ever hit the internet. Amy and I were laughing last night about how yeah, the sigh, yeah. We were laughing about how we can't show E.T. to Eastwood yet because he would proceed to just call every person he ever saw penis breath. That would be the funniest thing that he had ever experienced in his life. He would break a rib laughing at that. It cannot happen. Amy discovered today that yeah, he tried to rip my balls off in a fight today. That's right. He was we were pretending that I was a bad guy, and how would he protect mommy from a bad guy? And it took him about 5 seconds to go for the balls. He said something about how he was going to like rip him off and hang from him or something. But while they were out at the store today, he saw a colored person and proceeded to very loudly ask Amy why what, like, how people get darker skin. And he's like, shut up. Oh man, speaking of mothers and children, the science of fetal microchimerism should have broken the internet by now. It hasn't. You'll have to forgive a little bit of evolution slop in this, but the rest of it's good. When I read about a research, I was so curious to know what's actually happening. Fetal cells carrying the child's own DNA cross into the mother's bloodstream during pregnancy and never fully leave. They embed into her organs, her heart muscle, her brain tissue. Researchers have found a child's living cells inside mothers in their 90s from pregnancies 6 decades old. The child left the womb, the cells didn't. And they don't just sit there, they migrate toward damage. Women with heart injuries show fetal cells concentrated at the wound site. Women with thyroid disease show their children's cells inside the affected tissue. The body that built the child gets tended to in return by the child's own cells. Here's your evolution slob. Nobody designed this consciously. Evolution quietly built a repair system out of the mother-child bond itself. Very easy. You could just see evolution is just God. So, God quietly built a repair system out of the mother-child bond itself. The brain side of this is equally staggering. Pregnancy triggers gray matter reorganization, a structural rewiring that sharpens threat detection, deepens empathy, and fundamentally alters how a mother processes the world. These changes persist for years after birth. This is why there are so many stories of a guy who wifes up a chick and she goes hard mama bear conservative. Like, that's when you get the stories of the men who are like, yeah, I'm the one who has to like dial my wife back because my wife is why can't we just commit genocide on the invaders? You change a woman's brain when you put a baby in her. Irreversibly. So all of the dooming about like the low quality women and all this sort of thing is just it's a real own goal on behalf of men. You know how to retrain these women? Just put babies in them. Just put a baby in them. A mother's nervous system doesn't return to its factory settings. It was updated by the experience of carrying another person, and that update sticks. The part worth sitting with longest: women who experience pregnancy loss carry fetal cells too. The cellular merging doesn't require a birth. It doesn't require years of raising someone. Those cells remain regardless of what happened after. A mother grieving a child she never brought home is grieving someone biologically still present inside her. The world consistently underestimates that grief. The science says we have no business doing that. Mothers always knew the connection didn't end at birth. Turns out it doesn't end at the cellular level either. And, as my wife pointed out, when someone posted this in the Discord, she said this was one of the things that was most impactful to her about the Theotokos. If you think about the significance of the mother of Christ, that this Christ has a blood type. Christ has cells. He has skin cells. He has a human body. He came and existed in a human body inside Mary. So she carried God inside her, literally down to the cellular level. Now, relatedly, I thought this is a really interesting point from Liam out loud here. Promiscuity and adult content creation are the female evolutionary equivalents of violent criminal behavior in men. Say that one more time. Promiscuity and adult content creation, so promiscuity and porn, are the female evolutionary equivalents of violent criminal behavior in men. The function of both is to exploit one's biological advantages to prey on the weak and extract resources. The consequence of both is societal decay.
Here's the most controversial
What timing? Ryan Isaac!
Make more babies with your woman. God was gracious and made it fun.
Oh, that's a banger. Yes, Ryan Isaac. Shout out to my my fellow Pacific Northwest brother. Appreciate you, man. It's good to see you here. You have also been added to the nice list.
Here is the most controversial idea that society needs to face before it's too late. Female promiscuity and adult content generation are the female equivalents of violent criminal behavior in men. Both are warped versions of the masculine ideal of strength and the feminine ideal of beauty. I call this the gender predation paradigm, a way to understand how male and female failure modes mirror each other.
His audio sounds a little bit weird because he had to speed it up slightly to get it under the time limit for most platforms. So it's not actually AI. It just, the audio got distorted when he sped it up.
Of the masculine ideal of strength and the feminine ideal of beauty. I call this the gender predation paradigm, a way to understand how male and female failure modes mirror each other once the guardrails that used to civilize us fall apart. Human behavior didn't appear out of nowhere. It grew out of evolutionary incentives. Men developed strength for protection, provision, and competition. Women developed beauty and selectiveness for choosing partners and building long-term stability.
It's funny, it really is funny how much the evolution paradigm just depends upon taking God made it this way and substituting it for evolution selected for it to be this way. It's just like a linguistic trick, essentially.
These traits weren't decorative, they were survival tools, but when...
I mean, there is truth to the fact that like, you can, if you think of this in, it's not an exact analog, but it's just for analogy's sake. If you create like a game and you give characters particular traits at the beginning of the game, and then you let them run through a bunch of iterations, they will develop and they will maximize those traits. And that is, there's like an evolution to that process of them both. You could think of maximizing as in, of the available scales, they go all the way up, and finding all the new scales in which they go all the way up. But that ongoing process. And then you have people who are like, well, theistic evolution, where he just kind of, it was like the deist God who created the thing, and then he just sort of lets it run. These are all just derivatives of the Christian view of the world that they're all copes.
Cultural guardrails break, family structure, dating norms, community cohesion. These strengths don't disappear. They get weaponized. Men commit the vast majority of violent crime, not because men are inherently evil, but because male traits like risk-taking and aggression go dark when detached from responsibility. The male failure mode is obvious, using strength to take resources, robbery, assault, gangs. The shadow side of masculinity is force. The feminine failure mode follows the same evolutionary logic, but through a different channel, using beauty and short-term intimacy cues to extract resources, not through building families or stable bonds, but through hyper-casual behavior, digital content selling.
So you can see they're in both senses, they're trying to extract resources. That's a phrase that you could use for both, but it's being done in different ways. Now, men can extract resources in a feminine way. They can engage in that behavior. It's not like men are fundamentally incapable of that. It's that's the thing that defines men. And then deviant men are the ones who can do something in a feminine way. Now, there are certain times where it's appropriate or proper for a man to occupy a feminine role. And so then in that case, it is properly ordered for him to occupy a feminine role, like submission to authority. So then you can say, in a sense, that the apotheosis of masculinity is learning how to properly engage in femininity, and then the inverse is true for women as well. But in both cases, they're trying to acquire resources unduly. The woman is doing it seductively by offering. Basically, the meme is that she's offering sex in return for love, and the man is offering love in return for sex, which kind of gets at this notion that these are fundamentally different, and they are the things that are motivating the two sexes, but they have these polarities in the way that they actually go about that.
Sugaring, attention farming, and short-term manipulation of male desire. It's not identical to male criminality, but it serves the same function, exploiting one's biological advantage to prey on the weak and pull resources from them.
Now, this is this is what made this jump out at me, that the weak, I don't think people generally frame matters of pornography as a feminine. Like treating women as predators or thinking of women as predators, it seems discordant. There's like a disjunction there that doesn't quite add up. But it's because the ways that women predate is non-traditional. They have their own less obvious form of predation. It's a subversive predation. It's a slow extractive predation. Whereas men, it's about, instead of like burrowing underneath and sucking something out from under, it's about coming over the top. There's a reason why symbols exist. But it is the only way that women are able to succeed in this sort of function is because of weakness. It's because of weak men, or men giving in to weakness. That's what permits women to engage in this disordered function, which means if you fix the men, you fix the women. Just in simple engineering terms. Obviously, human beings are not widgets to be engineered, but they are engineerable.
This is what happens when ideals collapse. The masculine ideal: protector, builder, disciplined. Pathology: thug, drifter, criminal. Feminine ideal: nurturer, chooser, gatekeeper of commitment. The pathology: hyper-casual manipulator, the
gatekeeper of commitment, keep that in mind.
Of simulated intimacy and the extractor of attention. Both are corruptions of real virtues. Why is this exploding now? Well, 3 accelerants. The first is the collapse of stigma. No social cost to exploiting intimacy. The second is tech leverage. Subscription platforms, swipe apps, and algorithmic fantasy turn beauty into a scalable commodity. The last is weak communities and fatherlessness. No training, no boundaries, no expectations. The root cause is the same for both genders, the breakdown of family norms. Men act out less when bonded, mentored, and embedded in community. Women exploit less when guided by strong parents and clear norms for healthy pair bonding. And the consequences are the same: societal decay. When male pathology goes unchecked, communities fall into violence. When female pathology goes unchecked, relationships collapse into mistrust, loneliness, and demographic decline. Both are downstream from a culture that no longer admits masculine and feminine ideals exist, let alone that they must be shaped and channeled, not denied.
So this person here said, good, except I would make one change. Men are the gatekeepers of commitment and women are the gatekeepers of sex. And I think that this kind of gets at that sex versus love. Like when you say that men offer sex in order, or men offer love in order to get sex, that thing that they're offering is commitment. And so the woman is looking for someone to commit to her because I mean, she's vulnerable and she has the biological instinct to procreate. And so she knows that she needs someone that will protect her and provide for her and be committed to her when she goes into this vulnerable state. So the men are the ones who are gatekeeping that in that sense. I don't know that I would make commitment and sex, I would put them as the foundational things here, because commitment from the woman is really required as well. And all of these sorts of little heuristics kind of break down, but you have to have commitment from the women. The thing is that a woman will be committed to a man who is committed to her. Women naturally err on the side of being too committed because that's their vulnerability. They're kind of making a guess and like throwing a dart throwing a dart in the dark and hoping to land on someone who's committed. So this is why it's a meme. The woman who continues to stick with the bad guy, and no matter how many times she keeps coming back to him, keeps coming back to him, and keeps coming back to him. And also the children, like I put these back to back for a reason, because that fetal microchimerism, there's an element of that too with the woman and any man she's ever had sex with. They have also, she retains his DNA fingerprint in her body as well. So there's also a biological attachment that's there. The Kingless Kingdom here, I see, is memeing. He said, if Foyd's got stronger, you would fix the man. You won't be able to rob them. Women need to get stronger. Gorilla women. Big Mike would be the ideal woman if he was a woman. Yeah. Interesting, though. Like, I know you're just memeing, but that you can see why this has to start with men. Because taking the inverse of it immediately breaks down. Saying that the answer here is that women just have to get stronger so they can overpower the men. To like prevent the physical force of men. Like that is what that's the libs perspective, the libs approach. It breaks down immediately. But having the men make themselves non-seducible by subversive women, that actually can hold. That is a man acting as a man ought to. This is why men are the head of the household. This is why you have a king. Interesting proposition here from friend of the show, Catholic Orthodoxy, a.k.a. Popular Liberty, a.k.a. Poppy Libs, talking about divorce rates. Drilling down in here. I wanted to make sure I got this. A legitimate relationship hack. My husband started reading to me before bed, and I'm the happiest I've ever been with him. After 13 years of marriage, I'm the happiest I've ever been with my husband. We got married very young and have 2 boys under 3 years old. I'm finally out of my postpartum haze, feeling like myself again. My husband has always been so supportive and helpful as dad/husband, and we've gotten a lot closer after having kids. Recently, he started reading to me before bed. I asked him about the book he was reading, and he asked if I wanted him to read it to me. It's been one of the most intimate and special things he has done for me. I look forward to this every night now, and have already picked out the next book. I don't want this feeling to ever end. And Andrea Huberwoman says, divorce rates would plummet if men were just a little bit more romantic. It doesn't take that much. And Bowtied Kong said, divorce rates would plummet if we got rid of no-fault divorce. Women wouldn't be able to get a tarot card reading to decide if they should stay married or not. Zing! And Catholic Orthodoxy here says the law we need is maximum fault divorce. If you get divorced, half of your most liquid assets go to your kids, and you and your spouse get to argue over what's left. No kids? Your marginal tax rates double permanently, and the state assesses you an immediate 30% wealth tax. That's what I'm talking about. Southside Tilly says, so no one ever gets married. And he says, people will still get married because it's a tremendous no-brainer. They'll just be far more cautious about who they marry. The only people affected are those who are already thinking about divorce before the wedding, who shouldn't get married anyway because that'd be retarded. This is, this is another thing, another area where I have moved away from my libertarian past. I absolutely believe that the tax code should be designed intentionally to incentivize children, to incentivize the having of children to the point of the penalizing of not having children. I am just fine with the government penalizing people for not having children. Now you can debate about what should be done with the penalty money. Is it just go into the general coffers? Does it get directed into some kind of social program or whatever? Yes, don't let childless people vote. Fully fine with that, 100%. Restrict the franchise away from people who go even further, only landowners with children. Just fine with that. Absolutely, I want my government consciously and intentionally engaging in social engineering. Because no matter what the government does or does not do, it will be social engineering. The absence of a government would be social engineering. There is going to be social engineering by the government. So I want the government socially engineering in a proactive, pro-family, pro-tradition sort of a way. Encouraging people to pass assets down through their own lineage. Encouraging people, incentivizing people to have children. And rewarding them when they do. Penalize the bad behavior, reward the good behavior. And you have that as a rule. And then when you have marginal cases, you work with the marginal cases, which is why you need to have wise people in positions of power. That starts with mothers. Well, I guess you could say it starts with the fathers who choose the mothers and then lead the mothers, and the mothers raise the children to be wise people who then aspire to positions of leadership or are thrust into positions of leadership where they exercise that wisdom. You see, all these things, they all tie together. If you have unwise leaders, that is a curse, a judgment from God upon the ancestors of those leaders. And the way that you break that curse is by raising good leaders. In order to raise good leaders, you need strong, devoted, dedicated mothers. In order to do that, you need loyal, striving, successful, wealthy fathers. Nurturing, the fathers are creating the nest for the mother to nurture the young leaders. And so continues the circle of life. Found a great new mutual on the internet today. Stephen Stone, PhD trichnologist. He had me going in the first half of this tweet, but then he got me. He says, all I want is a white guy of an IQ of exactly 100 to be able to support a wife and 4 kids on his blue-collar job. I want him to live in a town of 25,000 other white people that has a well-maintained and thriving civic pride. That's it. That is the stated goal of my politics. While I have nothing but love for my low-IQ anti-Semite Chud friends, if you think that destroying Israel or some other mind-raped fantasy of yours is going to make this happen, you are probably retarded. But I will still fight to get you a wife and 4 kids and blue-collar job. If your immediate reaction to this is that you're not allowed because Jews, you're a fucking pussy and a coward, and you don't deserve anything. You can improve your life and the life of people around you while you wait around for Hitler 2.0 or whatever. But maintaining this Pavlovian, it's the Jews, response to everything is arguably mental illness. You can acknowledge that Jews have too much power and wield a subversive influence without just laying down and dying as if they have a total control over all aspects of society. Straighten up, white man. Feel free to just lay down and die if the Jews are so powerful that you can't overcome them. Some 22-year-old chud got a governor to end a re-election bid, and millions in Somalian fraud ended with a single YouTube video. Guess the Jews wanted that to happen? Fuck you, cowards. Absolute patriot. All hail the trichnologist. And then he said, there is a large segment of the modern right who seem to think they have some like guardian angel Jew following them around, except instead of guarding them, he is making them not have a $500K a year job and a big-tittied goth sex slave girlfriend. And one of our great posters, I guess I don't know if he wants everyone to know that that's his handle. One of our great posters, he can identify himself if he wants to. Said America has a guardian angel Jew, and his name is Stephen Miller. At Isolationist. This is real. This really happened. I've learned with the Jews you win. Everyone needs to have a Jew on their side. But for the boys who are really, really distressed about this, the boys who really genuinely do think that nobody is coming to save them, they're never going to own a house, that they are destined to poverty and renting and seething at their Jewish landlords for the rest of their lives. Yes, that was Slutty Milk. That was Slutty Milk, that last poster. At Isolationist. Get it? Go follow the man. Also, make sure you sign up for news and updates from the Trump White House. Are you subscribed to my president's newsletter? As if you're not a true patriot. This little executive order here just kind of, I don't know, everyone's busy talking about the Strait of Hormuz or whatever, and this dropped. Shout out to Slutty Milk for making sure that this got on my radar. See, I follow all the right people. I only need to know the right number of people to follow, and once I'm following them, that's all I need to know. And Slutty Milk is one of them. Promoting access to mortgage credit. Executive order dated March 13, 2026. By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution, and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Every American seeking to buy a home should have access to a mortgage from a reliable lender at a rate commensurate with his or her creditworthiness. Over the past 2 decades, however, statutory and regulatory changes, including rules adopted under the Dodd-Frank Act, and subsequent rulemakings have increased the compliance costs of mortgage origination and servicing and distorted the structure of the mortgage market. These burdens have contributed to a significant decline in bank participation in mortgage lending. Community banks, generally institutions with fewer than $30 billion in assets, have been especially affected. The regulatory and rule changes have undermined community banks' businesses, concentrated credit and liquidity risk outside the banking system, and resulted in reduced access to credit for some creditworthy borrowers, including rural households and low and moderate income households. My administration will reduce these regulatory burdens to ensure that these creditworthy borrowers can access the capital required to purchase a home. We're bringing back the community banks, boys! And you would have known this if you just fucking listened. Scott Bessent has referred to bringing back the community banks at least a dozen times in interviews that he's done over the past year and a half. Everyone's like, I have no idea what's going on. You can literally just listen to the administration. That's my secret. My secret is I listen to the things they say. And they say, we're doing this for this reason to achieve this desired endpoint. And then what do you know? They do that for that reason toward that desired endpoint. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. You've been mind raped by anti-war slop for 20 years. Understandably, yes, there was a mass campaign to mind rape you on anti-war slop. But it's time to pull your head up out of the haze. It's beautiful up here. Blue skies, sun is shining, nice pleasant breeze. Just pull your head up out of the slop and realize that this administration is not past administrations. They have plans. See, this is the thing. The difference is not between those who trust the plan and those who don't. The real difference is just between those who even recognize or acknowledge that there might be something resembling a plan and those who persist in la la land. They're like walking around with brain injuries. This is Trump derangement syndrome. Scott Bessent has been telling us for a year and a half that we're going to deregulate and focus on bringing back community banks and decentralizing the financial system. Deconcentrating liquidity, spreading it out. To facilitate both home buying and local development. Because the president went and spent a year doing trade deals and generating a bunch of capital to come in to pay for all the development. So domestically, through domestically controlled financial channels, we can promote and invest directly into the people themselves. So the problem is that it's not that there's people who don't trust the plan and people that do. It's people who are remotely read in on anything that's publicly available on the internet every single day. And those who simply refuse to even look at it. And tell you that you're coping or that you're a Zio-cuck or something. If you say, actually, they've like delineated exactly all the things that they're trying to do. And if you just look at their actions, it corresponds directly to all the things that they've said. You're just like low information. You got used to being smarter than the people in power. Understanding the world better. You're the real right-winger. You're the real based one. You understand the world. Stupid elected officials and stuff, they don't understand anything. But now they know better. They got a team of hitters that are doing things that have never been done before. And you want to like freak out about the midterms or the stock market or oil prices? You are a normie. You've gotten lost down into some little niche hobby and the world has moved on from you. Now you have a normie's perspective on current events because you're so bogged down in all of the theory and the history and the philosophy, and you have you can watch fucking CNN and you would know more. You don't even qualify as a CNN viewer. It is the policy of the United States to improve the availability and affordability of mortgage credit. Tailor rules for community banks and smaller banks, or banks with assets fewer than $100 billion, reduce the regulatory burden on community banks and otherwise facilitate community bank engagement in mortgage activity, foster innovation, growth, and consumer choice in the mortgage market, modernize origination and closing standards to reduce lending costs, remove regulatory distortions to the structure of the mortgage market, and to ensure capital and liquidity frameworks subject similar credit and liquidity risks to similar regulation across the system, promote competition among mortgage lenders of all charter types to drive down mortgage rates, and strengthen housing finance liquidity. And then they go on to describe a bunch of the different things that are involved in all of that. Directions to all the different chairs of boards and directors and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the instructions for the things that they need to do to attain this goal of beginning to unfuck the mortgage market. At the same time, the same day, removing regulatory barriers to affordable home construction. The American dream of homeownership depends on a dynamic housing market in which a varied inventory of new homes is built and renovated each year. layers of unnecessary regulatory barriers, slow permitting processes, and onerous mandates at all levels of government have delayed construction, restricted development, and driven up the costs of new housing. These constraints have made housing less affordable for many Americans. It's the policy of my administration to reduce regulatory barriers to building homes and to steward taxpayer dollars in a manner that promotes housing affordability. So targeting federal regulatory barriers to residential development, the Secretary of the Army, acting through the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works and the Administrator of the EPA, shall review and revise requirements related to stormwater, wetlands, lakes, rivers, and other bodies of water to reduce housing construction and ownership costs, streamline regulatory and agency decision-making processes, reduce property tax burdens, and increase insurability as appropriate and consistent with applicable law. You may have no idea just how much the real estate world in general has been completely bogged down and waylaid by environmental law. All sorts of environmental restrictions, all sorts of reviews and policies, reviews you have to go through and policies you have to comply with and taxes and fees and stuff you have to pay. And there's just another whole long thing here of all the different directions to all the different agencies, facilitating new residential construction and opportunity zones, boosting housing affordability through state and local regulatory best practices, streamlining federal permitting requirements for residential development. And you can't just look at each one of these things in a vacuum. That's like there's this inability to track with multiple different narratives at the same time. Because there's the deportation efforts, there's the deregulatory efforts, there's the federal government employee reductions, there's all the different trade deals, there's the expensing of new development for property, plant, and equipment for big new developments happening in the United States. You could go on and on and on and on and on and on. This has been the only way that you could possibly have this much coordination across this many different extraordinarily complex domains is if, one, you had a fucking plan, and two, you had competent people in position to execute that plan. Now, does that mean everything they'll do is perfect? No. Does that mean that it'll all happen at just the right time? No. Does that mean that it'll go off with zero hiccups whatsoever? No. Obviously. Why do we have to stay in the kindergarten sandbox? Why do we have to keep going over the remedial stuff? Of course, not everything's going to be perfect. But it's clear that there is a plan. If we can't even agree that there's a plan, we can't have a conversation. Now, most people can be like, yeah, there's a plan, and here's all the reasons it sucks. Great, let me hear your plan. What's your plan? Let's evaluate all the reasons it sucks. Oh, wait, you haven't even fucking thought about one. You start ad hocing one on the fly. Well, just like, this is me debating Angela McArdle like 8 years ago about the Mises Caucus. What are we going to do? Take over the Libertarian Party. Then what? Get libertarians elected. Then what? In the Fed or something. There was and then what that was left completely unanswered. Right now, we have something that's fucking working. The one man through whom we've accomplished anything as whatever you would want to call a political party, political movement, organization of people who are approximately politically aligned, looking for better things to happen. We've gotten more done and more momentum in the last 10 years, 11 years, since Donald Trump came down that fucking escalator. And evidence of the plan is everywhere. If you don't see it, you're actively refusing to see it. You're working out daddy issues or something. You're imposing a frame upon the world that does not exist. Oh, I'm choosing to be a retard. Haha, joke's on you. Either way, you're being a retard. Okay. This is a great idea. Right here. So a CBS News analysis of records for every hospice operating in Los Angeles County finds indications of fraud are growing. Huh. Weird. It's almost like a couple of months ago, we talked about how after Minnesota is going to be California. And now suddenly we're finding out more and more about fraud happening in California. Huh. Yeah, Trust Plan, sorry. You could just read the National Security Strategy. You can even listen to Matt read it for free. It's not hard. And that's the thing, like, at least give me something to work with. At least give me a counter argument. With this, I was just listening to the great patriot John Doyle, or John Goyle, as his haters call him. I was listening to him talk about this. It's like, I've been cursed with terrible enemies. At least give me something that's not just the Netanyahu. Zionism! Don't you see it's the Zionists? Like the entire world? Do you realize how distorted your sense of scale is for the entire world if you think that Zionism is the fundamental agency motivating storyline in the world? You're like the person who can't conceptualize larger than 150 people. You're like the living embodiment of Dunbar's number. You are the average person. And you simply cannot comprehend the scale of the earth. The scale of billions of people. And for such ardent students of history that so many of you are, it's strange that it's very easy to go back in history and identify all these different strands, all these different conflicts and various different interests that are connected or not connected or overlapping and then not overlapping and shifting and moving around. But no, now apparently are we at the end of history? Is that what it is? We've arrived at the end of history where there's only one storyline remaining? And everything must be crammed into that single storyline? Who's the Fukuyama now? Anyways, a 69-year-old woman hurt herself playing pickleball. When she sought physical therapy, Medicare denied her coverage, saying she was already in hospice care dying. It was fraud. She didn't get the health care she needed and the money was stolen instead. So, this woman, perfectly healthy, playing pickleball, gets hurt and then finds out that somebody had stolen her identity and was getting Medicare while they were in hospice care dying. And this person here says, we really need a government dashboard that has all the federal services bundled together. When you log into your Citizen account, you could see something like, you're currently receiving hospice care, and every individual person could help detect fraud. That is frickin' brilliant. So the average person can sign into their federal account that's associated with their social security number and see, oh, look at that. Somebody is getting federal benefits in my name. If you think that this sort of thing is not inevitable, you could talk about the mark of the beast all you want. But the extraordinary benefits that would come from something like this, a centralized database where you can track all of this stuff and you don't have any privacy. Yes, you already don't have privacy. You've been living in a world without privacy. Privacy is power. Those who have power will be able to retain their privacy. If you want to retain your privacy, you're going to need to get some power.
Waiter, more fascism, please.
Fascists, when someone suggests that everything be subordinated to the state. Nick Sortor said this is a more than spectacular idea. It's a no-brainer idea that we should have implemented a long time ago. I guarantee Big Balls and Trump's new national design studio could make it happen. And speaking of big balls, did you guys see this young patriot? One of Musk's Doge bros explains how he flagged DEI for grants for termination.
You don't regret that people might have lost important income to support their lives?
No. I think it was more important to reduce the federal deficit from $2 trillion to close to zero.
Did you reduce the federal?
Nathan Kavanaugh.
Yeah, we didn't.
This is a history of the HIV/AIDS prison movement and its legacies in the United States. My book project narrates how activists fought the convergence of HIV/AIDS and incarceration from inside and outside prisons across the Reagan through Clinton years, and argues that this organizing holds legacies in the prison abolition movement of the 1990s to today. This is one of the grants that you or Mr. Fox identified.
Yeah, he heard AIDS and had to hold back laughter. Like this is a masterclass, an absolute masterclass. And Elon has said that he's in touch with these guys and he's offering to fund their legal defense because they're trying to just ruin them. They're like, yeah, we can't do anything else, so we're going to try to bankrupt you.
Identified as craziest of any age, is that right?
That's right.
Why did you identify this as one of the craziest grants?
Because it references feminist and queer insights into prison abolition and LGBTQ studies.
Any other reasons?
No.
Examining military service.
It mentioned feminist and queer shit. Any other reasons? No.
From the margins, the complicated service discussion series will bring together veterans and community members to examine the experiences of service members who identify themselves as female, black,
What a fact!
LGBTQ, or an immigrant, the dynamics, reasoning, and strength behind serving a country that does not always serve you in return. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
You and Mr. Fox identified this as one of the craziest grants at any age?
Yes, it appears so.
Why did you do that?
Because it explicitly says LGBTQ.
Do you have any history in, like,
Patriot,
say, scholarly peer review?
No.
Okay. So, but this judgment call was made by you and your personal judgment combined with Justin's personal judgment to cancel grants based on DEI.
Yes.
Okay.
This dude has been serving his country. Imagine your job is to go through federal grants and be like, sounds like DEI, canceled. Sounds like DEI, canceled. Sounds like feminism, canceled. Oh!
Do you think it's inappropriate in any way that someone in their 20s with no experience with grants or federal government was making personal judgment calls about what grants to cancel?
Objection. No, I don't think it's inappropriate.
Okay. Why not?
Objection. I think a person can have enough judgment from reading books and being well informed outside of traditional experience to make judgment calls about obvious things like a grant that literally lists DEI in its description to know whether it violates an executive order.
I'm sorry.
He's like, I don't need fucking special training to say, executive order says no DEI, this says DEI, gone.
I'm saying books because you said books. What books would you have read that would have informed your opinion on what grants to cancel based on?
That's what the president called for, is the correct answer.
There were no books.
Young Patriot. The Zoomerwaffen. The Zoomerwaffen is nigh. Look at all the powerful mutuals in the replies. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. On the other end of the spectrum, brace yourselves.
Not a fucking concept five. Are you done? This is just embarrassing. Like, there's only, what, 10,000?
What is that?
How much? 330 million people in the United States?
Fucking Nazi.
Like, you gotta go home. Like, how do you sleep?
Go home.
You go home and you fucking...
No, we're not doing that. You're getting called a slur. I don't know which one. Whichever one I feel like saying at the moment. You're getting called a slur.
Go home to your empty ass house and your empty ass bed because the wife you thought loved you left you because you're a piece of shit working for a Nazi as a Nazi.
Right before your eyes fucking fall asleep. What are your fucking thoughts?
I hope it's about his service weapon.
It's about his migrants. 24/7. That's the only way you can throw. You got to throw away.
You are pathetic.
From?
Yeah, that's ginger hair. You from Ireland?
Look at you switching. Look at you switching.
We
You like
immigrated
that
here.
golf course that he's fucking building up in Scotland?
Up with liberation, down with
That was probably your great-grandparents' land. There's that golf course over in Scotland. Have you ever thought about that shit?
Up with liberation.
You don't think very much, do you?
You're fucking pathetic.
Get that ugly, disabled freak away from me. I don't want to look at his fucked up face. His smushed in, garbled, baby disabled face. I don't want to look at it.
I actually just learned this last weekend that he was talking about Hezbollah when he said that. I didn't actually know that. I've never seen the actual setting of it. I've just seen the specific clip of it. I did not realize that was about Hezbollah, and that makes it even funnier. JT Alexander, powerful poster here, said, if they weren't actually tearing down civilization and killing conservatives in the streets and churches, I would actually feel bad for leftists. Most of them are clearly developmentally disabled. This girl should not live in a world that convinces her she should have authority. It's actually cruel to thrust people like this into what basically amounts to them as the shape store, a collection of abstractions that they cannot understand, but that social pressures force them to pretend to understand. The rate at which the developmentally disabled, clinically retarded, or mentally ill people become leftists tells us a great deal. These people are being targeted and turned into weapons for a cause they cannot comprehend. It's deeply sinister. This girl should be living on a family farm, tending a garden, raising animals, blissfully unaware of the politics across the other side of the empire. So frickin' true. Pristine theatrics. A masterful way to call this fetal alcohol syndrome creature a ward of the state. The prohibition on beatings as a form of argument has produced a proliferation of argument forms which rely on the impossibility of beatings. That right there is what's called a grade A banger. Shout out to Raw66 Comanche. The prohibition on beatings as a form of argument has produced a proliferation of argument forms which rely upon the impossibility of beatings. And an all-timer from Mystery Grove. Reminder, communism is when ugly, deformed freaks make it illegal to be normal, then rob and or kill all successful people out of petty resentment and cruelty. The ideology is all just window dressing. Mystery Grove, Patriot spotted. Andy No, a Gatriot, just like Dave, says, a no comment report. I get it. No comment. You silly little twink. Verdict reached in the first ever federal Antifa terrorism trial over the Texas ICE ambush where an officer was shot in the neck. All cell members have been convicted. Antifa supporters had threatened witnesses during the trial. Yes, that's right. Antifa members are being convicted. First federal terrorism charge for Antifa. This has now established even further the pretext that being a member of Antifa makes you a terrorist. So does funding Antifa. Promoting Antifa. Keith Ellison, anyone? They're looking at potentially decades in federal prison. Antifa associates are threatening and promising violence in reaction to 9 of their Texas comrades being convicted at the first ever Antifa federal terrorism trial. FPW Protect Trans Kids says the only appropriate response for the Prairie Land defendants is retaliation. Don't let the fascist state go unpunished. Sounds like Ian Carroll. As the verdict was being read out, some of the not our Ian Carroll, the retard one.
What, are you retarded? So I know you're not retarded, but
What are you, Down syndrome?
As the verdict was being read out, some of the Antifa supporters in the courtroom started wailing and crying, resulting in them being ejected from the court. Read about what happened at the historic first. There's an article about it. Antifa supporters are asking if the two trans Antifa terror convicts, both men who pretend to be women, will be able to serve their sentences in a female prison. This one says, fuck the jury. This guy, with his own image in his avatar, says kill, not fuck. Antifa are going after U.S. District Judge Mark Pittman's wife for being Christian as revenge for him presiding over the terrorism trial where their comrades were convicted for shooting up a Texas ICE facility. It's a, I don't really think that it's going to be great to get convicted of terrorism and respond to that by doing some more terrorism. I kind of suspect that under Lord King President Donald Trump, that's not going to go down well. All right, more white pills. New Hall of Fame patriot, Representative Andy Ogles. The Hart-Celler Immigration Act of 1965, in conjunction with the Immigration Act of 1990, is the most recent declaration of war Congress has ever passed. Not only did this legislation declare war on American culture, but it has also been sending foreign troops to every American community to steal their jobs, erase their religion, and infiltrate their schools. I am preparing a monumental bill that repeals Hart-Celler, ends the H-1B visa scam, ends chain migration, and creates a whole new character-based system that would make America look like America again. The Assimilation Act is how we can save our culture and secure our country. White Papers Policy Institute says almost all of the pieces to pull America back from the edge are now in the mainstream. The southern border is closed. Chip Roy's Pause Act would freeze all immigration. Andy Ogles' bill would gut the failed immigration system. The final step is a robust remigration act to undo the damage of the last 60 years of mass immigration from the third world. And Andy Ogles says it's time for a major immigration paradigm shift. Our founders were prepared to drop the British flag to become Americans. Newcomers must be prepared to drop their flags and do the same. The Assimilation Act will change everything. Stay tuned. Here is the video about the Assimilation Act.
I think it was just kind of bred into me to love country, to love God, and to try to do the right thing. But this idea that doctors and lawyers were brought into this country to help our society is absolute nonsense. Go back to Hart-Celler, back to the 1960s. Let's abolish it and, quite frankly, deport them all. This is the United States of America. We get to decide who comes in, and Mr. Chairman, we get to decide who leaves.
Let's look at the cities. Let's look at the nations that have allowed themselves to be invaded by the peoples from other nations. London, migrants, 40% of sex crimes. Paris, migrants, 48% of their crimes. Rome, migrants, 83% of street robberies.
Never again will the land of my people fall into enemy hands.
That being said, I don't want the Brazilification of America. I want America to be great. This is about America first.
We decide in housing, and we get to decide who has to lead. And I want my country back.
Yes, this man read Camp of the Saints. Frankly, I would not be at all shocked if he read Camp of the Saints. This is Donald Trump's America. In Donald Trump's America, we have congressmen who have read Camp of the Saints. We have basically the head of domestic policy who has, I believe, openly talked about Camp of the Saints. Yeah, Miller read it. Stephen Miller read Camp of the Saints and was trying to get other people to read it. Patriot down, who is it? Quirked up nationalist. I don't know if I know who this was, but is that someone that I would know? Kingless Kingdom. Yeah, no, that was not an Anon account. That was posted by Andy Ogles himself. With the Halo 3 theme and everything. Niggas will watch this happen and say, I hope the Republicans lose the midterms. Absolute faggots! Look what's happening. Incredible things. Steak and Shake. A Patriot milkshake. It has never been better to be a patriot. Steak and Shake is making milkshakes just for us, complete with the Statue of Liberty. And they removed that gay poem from it. Actually, they don't say that, but it would be pretty cool if it did, didn't it? Wouldn't it? Yes, fans, it's dark chocolate. A dark chocolate Statue of Liberty, priced at $2.50 for the rest of the year. $2.50 for a Patriot shake. We're winning. This is what it looks like. You want to be a stupid milkshake? We're fucking winning! Pete Hegseth posted this. I know some people who need to hear this.
Yes, hello, it's me, a black guy.
Hey, I don't know who need to hear this. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people be talking shit about America. Hey, if you don't like America, go to another country, bitch. I love this country. I'll protect this bitch.
Patriot! He can stay! Yeah, folks, tip your streamer. We're going to read now. Data Republican. Honored to have my first byline published by the American Mind. For 40 years, the democracy promotion establishment protected Khamenei while claiming to oppose him. When the strikes came, they dispatched the protest machine to protect the regime. Why? The Fall of the NGO Administrative Complex. This is by Jenica Pounds, aka Data Republican. Operation Epic Theory and the collapse of the multilateral myth. See, a lot of people want to tell you this is just another Middle Eastern war. This is just more doing the legwork of the Zionists. This is Greater Israel, yada, yada, yada. And yet, curiously left unexplained is the fact that all of the people who have been the core apparatchiks for that are against it! Yankoi Bay!
Camp of our Saints. Mr. Sue and Giga Fag somehow pronounce it dampen their taints and it still works.
Dampen their taints! No! Hassan literally called Trump the president of rape. Oh, that's getting put into so many edits. Okay. President Rape. He called him President Rape. Oh my God. My president is the greatest rapist. My president is going to rape you. Just like Sam Hyde.
Good afternoon, Patriots. This is Agent Q.
Okay, so as I was saying, thank you, Young Goyve. As I was saying, Adolf Hitler needs me.
Adolf Hitler, if you can hear me, please save us. Adolf Hitler, if you can hear me, please save us.
Okay, so all of the people, strangely, who have dedicated their last several decades of their life to achieving war against Iran, those who were behind all of the past wars, for whatever reason, all of a sudden they're against this one. And yet we're led to believe this is just part of the same old, same old. At first glance, it seems that the Western establishment should welcome Operation Epic Theory. As Joshua Lisek and I document in our upcoming book, Unelected, The entire post-World War II order has been built on the premise that global security depends on the spread of democracy, or the downfall of tyrants at the very least. As United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan said in a 2001 speech, there is, quote, a need for more democracy on the global level, which is what the United Nations has been about from the very beginning. The global order is no fan of Iran. Atlantic writer and former National Endowment for Democracy board member Anne Applebaum has consistently named Iran, alongside Russia and China, as one of the three greatest autocracies threatening the world. Senator Chris Murphy, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and a speaker at the Council on Foreign Relations, drew an explicit parallel during the 2022 Masa Amini massacres, declaring, quote, just as we stood together with the people of Ukraine during their revolution of dignity, the United States must continue standing with the people of Iran. One might think that these defenders of democracy would celebrate the removal of the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a brutal fundamentalist religious totalitarian. Instead, those same voices are now loudly condemning the airstrikes. Murphy's reaction offered no sympathy for the thousands of Iranians killed by the regime, only outrage at Trump. Quote, in America, we don't allow one doddering, self-obsessed old man to waste our money on a dangerous, disastrous overseas war, end quote. Similarly, Applebaum has criticized Operation Epic Fury's supposed lack of strategic coherence, not the target. What is louder than the condemnations of the establishment now is what they failed to do over the previous 4 decades. They never deployed the same aggressive democratization strategies toward Iran that they've applied across the Middle East and Africa. Instead, successive administrations released billions in frozen Iranian assets, negotiated the infamous Iran nuclear deal, and, as Politico's 2017 Project Cassandra investigation documented, deliberately limited prosecution of Hezbollah drug trafficking networks operating inside the United States to protect those negotiations. In short, those backing the so-called rules-based liberal international order actually wanted Ali Khamenei's regime to remain in place. Actions speak louder than words. For an order that defines itself by the spread of democracy, this is a striking paradox. This is like the one sentence you really need to internalize to understand what's happening right now. Those backing the so-called rules-based liberal international order actually wanted Ali Khamenei's regime to remain in place. This is obviously true. Clearly and obviously true. By looking at the actions that were taken to keep it in place. So if they wanted that kept in place, then clearly, at the very least, you got to say there's some sort of divergence between the rules-based liberal international order, which is sometimes called the post-World War II or the post-war order, or the Nuremberg regime, or Zog, or the Gay. These are all the different names people have for this rules-based liberal international order. But I'm led to believe that they simultaneously wanted Iran to stay. They wanted to retain Iran in its current capacity. And also, they're agents of the Jews who are hell-bent on totally conquering Iran and for the sake of the Greater Israel Project. I mean, at the very least, you got to recognize there's clearly two different factions operating here. At the very, very least. It's not the same faction that has diametrically opposite goals for itself. The instinct is to reconcile this paradox. So this rules-based liberal international order is dedicated to spreading democracy to the whole world. This is like key neocon dogma. We must use the military to extend the rules-based liberal international order to the entire world through the spread of democracy and nation building and all this sort of stuff. And yet, this key autocrat that they make lots of big noises at, for whatever reason, they just keep doing things that keep him in place. The instinct is to reconcile it through a conventional foreign policy lens, BRICS versus the West. Since Iran is a member of BRICS, the Western establishment should welcome action against it. But that model breaks down immediately. The CFR, the Atlantic Council, and Carnegie, all institutions lamenting the ongoing strikes in Iran, are among the most aggressively pro-NATO voices in Washington. They have no sympathy for Russia or China. Yet Iran, a member of the same bloc they oppose, has enjoyed their implicit protection for decades. To resolve the paradox, I do what I'm known for best: follow the money. In January of 2025, the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft published a foreign funding transparency report, calling out Qatar and the UAE for pouring money into American foreign policy institutions. On its face, it was a principled stand against foreign influence. But the same report makes no mention of Chinese money flowing into those same think tanks, despite China representing a far larger geopolitical adversary. Quincy also routinely calls for restraint in Ukraine, placing it at odds with the NATO-aligned establishment that funds it. Quincy co-founder Trita Parsi also co-founded the National Iranian-American Council, an organization whose internal communications, obtained through federal court proceedings, revealed extensive coordination with Iranian government officials. And yet Quincy attracts institutional funding from the same Western-aligned order it critiques. George Soros' Open Society Foundations and Charles Koch's networks provided its founding capital, with additional backing from the Rockefeller Brothers Fund and others. And this pattern repeats everywhere. The Soros-backed Indivisible Coalition, that's the No Kings guys, regularly organizes alongside anti-NATO revolutionary groups such as the Answer Coalition in the anti-ICE protests that have erupted across America. The think tank world and the street activist world appear to operate from opposite ends of the establishment spectrum, yet they coordinate, share funders, and converge on the same targets. This pattern becomes undeniable when examining not just where the multilateral order directs its intellectual fire, but where Iran has directed its actual fire. Over the past decade, Iran and its network of proxies have conducted strikes against a remarkably consistent set of targets. Israel, which was struck directly by Iranian ballistic missiles in Operation True Promise in April and October of 2024. Saudi Arabia, whose oil infrastructure at Abqaiq was devastated in the 2019 Houthi drone strikes. One of the most significant attacks on the global...
If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you for resubscribing, Howie. Abqaiq. Abqaiq, oh, that's great. One of the most significant attacks on the global energy supply in modern history. The UAE, struck by Houthi drones in January 2022 in Abu Dhabi. Bahrain, subject to sustained Iranian influence operations and support for armed opposition movements seeking to destabilize the Sunni monarchy. And Qatar, which has maintained its own working relationship with Tehran, but also hosts a major U.S. military base. Look at those countries again. Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. Now look at where America parks its military. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, CENTCOM's forward headquarters, home to roughly 10,000 U.S. troops. Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE, a hub for American air power and surveillance across the Gulf. Naval Support Activity Bahrain, headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. And a deep, decades-long military partnership with Israel that includes pre-positioned American equipment and intelligence infrastructure. Iran has spent over 40 years targeting the architecture of American military presence in the Middle East. The Quincy Institute has spent 6 years targeting the intellectual infrastructure that justifies it. Different instrument, one fires missiles, the other publishes white papers, but an identical target set. What the money shows is that the relevant organizing principle of global foreign policy is not which civilizational bloc you belong to. It is whether you believe the United States should maintain a sovereign military presence and bilateral relationships in the world, or whether American power must be subordinated to multilateral frameworks and institutional consensus. On one side are the countries hosting American bases. On the other hand, there's Iran's proxy network, anti-NATO revolutionary protest networks, and establishment voices calling Operation Epic Fury a catastrophic mistake. The multilateral framework has a structural flaw, however, that it cannot acknowledge. To function, it requires what I call legible adversaries. States whose demands are known, whose behavior is predictable, and whose continued existence makes negotiation possible. The Iran nuclear deal required a counterpart. Gulf security architecture required regional stability. For 47 years, Khamenei provided both. He was brutal, but he was manageable. He was the right kind of authoritarian, one whose survival was more useful to the framework than his removal. The 36,500 Iranians documented in the regime's own massacre records were, from this perspective, an unacceptable cost. Trump's faction rejects that calculus. In Unelected, Lisek and I document how supranational interests have systematically eroded American sovereignty from within, through NGOs, foundations, and the institutional apparatus. Operation Epic Fury is the inverse of that story. A sovereign nation acting in its own interest without multilateral permission against an adversary the global order had quietly decided to protect. Notice the only people who have anything to say to defend Iran. None of their neighbors, none of their big patrons. They've done their token stuff. Russia and China. If anything, some of Iran's actions have been harder on China. The only people that have anything to say in defense of Iran are the main mouthpieces of the neocon Atlanticist establishment. The network that safeguarded Ali Khamenei for 4 decades is the same NGO administrative complex we documented in Unelected. The same foundations, the same NGOs, the same multilateral frameworks that has increasingly controlled American domestic life on immigration policy, energy regulation, education standards, election infrastructure, and more. The Rockefeller Brothers Fund does not choose between funding the Quincy Institute's Iran engagement advocacy and funding domestic climate and democracy initiatives. It does both because to them, it is all one single project. George Soros does not choose between the Open Society's foreign policy work and its domestic electoral investments. It is the same apparatus, operating at every level simultaneously. There is no separate foreign policy establishment and domestic policy establishment. There is only one establishment. This is why the establishment's condemnation of the Iran strikes is so disproportionate to the event. They're not mourning Khamenei, they're recognizing with alarm what Trump is actually doing. The regime change Trump is attempting is not Iran's, it is theirs. Every act that reasserts American sovereignty on Iran, on trade, on immigration, on energy, is an act of regime change against the supranational order that has governed American life, foreign and domestic, for at least 70 years. The strikes on Khamenei's compound are a demonstration that a sovereign nation acting in its own interest does not need institutional permission. The Trump administration just showed that the veto that the multilateral order spent decades embedding into American foreign policy, through think tanks, through NGOs, through carefully managed BRICS adversaries, can simply be ignored. This is how the NGO administrative complex dies, one sovereign act at a time. Now, this is what he said today. Because there's all this stuff about how he got tricked into doing this, how he has no idea what he's doing, he's been hoodwinked, he got desperate, he's been backed into a corner, he has no idea what this is going to do to his ratings, yada, 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 yada. Once again, the rubber meets the road, and the simple-minded default to the Trump is a retard, Trump has no idea what he's doing. How has that worked out for anyone over time? Betting against Donald Trump, you don't even have to be ideologically committed to the idea to recognize that betting against Donald Trump has been a sure path to failure for every person who's attempted it. So I would be pretty hesitant before jumping aboard that Trump is retarded and has no idea what he's doing train. Maybe you're just oblivious to anything that's happened over the last 10 years. Maybe you have a brain injury. I don't know. But this is what he says.
It'll be soon. Won't be long. And we're going to have a much safer world when it's wrapped up. It'll be wrapped up soon. We're going to have a much safer world. I had an obligation to do this. I didn't want to, I call it an excursion. I didn't want to make this journey. We had the highest stock market in history. We had low gas prices. Everything was good. And I know exactly. I know what, you're going to do it. And people are going to raise the price of oil. And that's good. But I know that. But that's a very small thing compared to allowing them to have. You want to see a stock market go down? Start letting them hit you with nukes. Okay?
Trump doesn't know. The stock market's going down. Trump wants stock market up. He don't know. Hey, he has no idea what's going to happen. He didn't know about the Strait of Hormuz. He had no clue. He's literally telling you right here, I knew exactly what was going to happen because he's not a fucking retard. There was a great tweet I saw the other day. It was something like one thing to consider when trying to figure out what Trump is going to do next is to consider that he's not a fucking faggot. So like just kind of bake that into your thinking. He knew exactly what this was going to do. And he's obligated to do it. Not because someone's forcing him into doing it, because he recognizes it as the right thing to do, even if he knows it's going to affect him negatively politically. Just that alone. I'm going to do this thing because I believe it's the right thing to do, even though I recognize it's going to damage me politically. That's so incredibly rare in modern leadership in general. Most of these people that are like, oh, I'm doing the hard thing. No, they're not. Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't sacrificing by resigning from Congress. She's removing herself from responsibility. He's actually doing these actions. He's taking these actions because you could disagree with him or not, but he personally believes this is the right thing to do.
I think, I said it this morning, I think it's a very small price to pay. And frankly, I thought it was going to go down much more, if you want to know the truth. I assumed that it was going to go down much more, only because people don't understand to a large, it's a big chess game at a very high level.
A big chess game. So he's like, I expected it to hit even harder because my president recognizes that most people are retarded. Remember when he said, don't be a panickin'? He knows what he's doing. He's surrounded by people who know what they're doing. You don't need to remind him that if the stock market is down, that's a political hurdle he needs to overcome. He is the most successful politics navigator any of us have ever seen in our lifetimes. You don't have to like him. You don't even have to respect him. You don't even have to believe him. But you can't deny some of these things. So the conversation has to start beyond the point of Trump had no idea, Trump got suckered. He just got backed into it and his hand was forced. I could even grant the premise. I could even say, yes, his hand was forced. And so what did he do? He did it. I know this is going to hurt me politically, but it's the right thing to do. I need to react to this thing that's happening in the moment. Therefore, I'm going to do it. And why is it so hard to believe? Why do people act like it's this absurd thing that the IRGC was actually trying to get its hands on a nuclear weapon that they would use maliciously? Especially if you recognize who the fucking IRGC represents. The same people that have never had any problem committing war crimes, gassing people, letting protesters get killed, assassinating people. They don't give a shit about any of this stuff. Once you recognize that the IRGC are just useful idiots that serve as a proxy for the deep powers, it should be not remotely out of the question that they would be trying to get their hands on a nuke that they would use. So it's assumed that this was like false intelligence. Because it's not just that, oh, he was tricked. It's that he was tricked with something fake. How do you know that? I don't know that he was. I don't know that he wasn't. There's no possible way that any of us is ever going to be in a position to know these things. So talking as if you know them is just ignorance. You're being willfully ignorant. If he did get, and it kind of sounds like if you kind of read between the lines a little bit, which Trump always makes it very easy. People are like, oh, I can't understand him. It's very easy to read between the lines with what he's saying. He didn't want to do this. It wasn't like he's all gung-ho about it, but the intelligence that he received made it clear to him this is the move that has to be made now. And since we're going to make this move now, we're going to do it ruthlessly and get it over with as quickly as reasonably possible. And they straight up told you right at the night of, he said 4 to 5 weeks. We're 2 weeks in and people are like, it's totally out of their control. Trump thought it would be over within a day. He literally said 4 to 5 weeks. This isn't like sources close to the White House reported that this was the sort of timeline they were discussing. He literally did a broadcast to the nation and said 4 to 5 weeks. We can't even begin to have a conversation about these things if people are going to continue to insist upon utterly fact-free analysis and opinion making. You don't deserve to be taken seriously. If you can't recognize that there's a clear plan and very obvious things like the Strait of Hormuz being closed didn't occur to them. These are just utterly disqualifying opinions to hold.
It's a very high-level chess, the highest, and I'm dealing with very smart players. These are smart people. They don't get there. You know, when you deal with some of these people, you're dealing with high-level intellect, very high IQ people. These are not Jasmine Crockett and her group. These are smart people. These are really smart people, and violent people, and vicious people, and some very nice people. And some are very nice but violent. They turn violent. But you know what? If I didn't do...
Just in there, like the man demonstrates a greater understanding and appreciation of human nature. Just accepting human beings for what they are. He understands human beings on like a grug level. He's not ideological. He's like, these are extremely smart, crafty, clever people who have a totally different standard for violence than the rest of us. And some of them are that way, and they're also nice. There's very, very given over toward like violent, brutal behavior, but they're also nice people. My president appreciates the complexity of the human person.
If I didn't do what I did, we would have been hit. Number one, very important, was the termination of Obama's horrible deal. And number two, this beautiful plane hitting them 8 months ago, whatever it was.
B2's in the
taking
chat.
Out their nuclear capacity. That totally threw them for a loop. If they had that bomb at either time, 5 years ago or 7 months ago, if they had that bomb would have been used almost immediately.
So again, reasonable people could disagree about whether or not that's true. Whether or not they believe that's true. But whether or not you believe that's true doesn't really mean anything, because you have no basis upon which to make that assessment. Yes, weapons of mass destruction, yada, yada, yada. You have no basis upon which to make that, to draw that conclusion. Neither do I. I don't have a basis upon which to draw the conclusion that it was true. But he believes it was true. And he's the one who's in position to do that. To be able to make that call. That's literally why I voted for him. Because of all the other available options, I don't trust any of them. There's going to be a person who's in that position making that decision, assessing that intelligence, making the call. And there's no other available option. You don't get like the secret hypothetical that if I sit here and imagine what I would do if I was in that situation and I would do it better, and so therefore he's doing it worse. This is schizophrenia. He also said this, making it more explicit.
About the political impacts of this? I mean,
I have to do what's right. You know, political, I'm sure everybody has concern. I have to do what's right. I can't say that, you know, gee, I don't want to have any impact on oil prices for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 months, and we're going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon and blow up the entire Middle East and beyond, right? Because, you know, they were going to blow up the Middle East. If I didn't terminate the Obama horrible deal, the Iran nuclear deal, it's called, if I didn't terminate that in my first term, they would have already had a nuclear weapon, and they would have used it immediately upon getting it. And if I didn't send in the B-2 bombers to bomb the hell out of it and obliterate, and that's what it was, we obliterated that site and stopped all their potential nuclear. If I didn't do that, you would have had Israel and the Middle East hit by nuclear weapons. And we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Here you go. Shout out to, who was it? Someone dropped the link here. Trust Plan SAR. Shout out to Trust Plan SAR.
Today, is Iran still willing to let go of that enriched uranium?
Well, that was one of the elements of a deal that we were negotiating with our, American interlocutors. That element dealt with the question of Iran's 60% enriched material. And I offered actually that we are ready to dilute those enriched material or downblend them as they...
From my understanding, this is the first time I've seen an Iranian official admit that they, in fact, do have 400 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium. The only reason why you would have uranium enriched to that point is if your goal is nuclear weapons. And there's this like Mott and Bailey thing that happens where people are like, on one hand, of course Iran's trying to get a nuclear weapon. I would, if I was Iran, I would try to make a nuke if I was Iran because Israel. And yet then if you say, if Trump says they were going to get a nuke, and if they got a nuke, they were going to use it. People are like, oh, he's being tricked by Israel. So the only thing I can conclude here is that you've decided that Iran is, whatever we're calling Iran, IRGC, the mullahs, the Iranian civilian government, the Iranian civilian military, there's all these different factions in Iran. But all I can conclude here is that you just are automatically giving Iran the benefit of the doubt because they're not Jews. Even though, ironically, they're actually much closer to Jews, and many of them are Jews. Why is Iran, like, default gets the benefit of the doubt here? At the very, very best, you could say that this dude here, the foreign minister, is sitting there like it's like a hostage tape. Like on the other side are guys with AKs pointed at him. And he's sitting there saying what he needs to say. Now, Ben Swan has kind of an interesting theory here. And I don't know that I agree with it necessarily, but I just like the fact that he's doing a little outside the box considering here. Recognizing some really obvious baseline things like Trump knows what he's doing. Agree with him or not, he obviously knows what he's doing. There's obviously a comprehensive plan around all of this. So what could be the goal here? How do we reconcile all of these different things? Like on one hand, he's been anti-nation building, anti-democracy spreading. He literally campaigned on how all the Middle East engagements were retarded. He said you should at least take the oil. He's very clearly willing to use the military, but he has a well-documented track record of using the military surgically. So if we can assume all of these things are the case, along with all the other things he said adjacent to it, and we're trying to put them all together into one comprehensive picture that explains everything, yeah, we're going to do a little assuming. This could be one bit of this is like informed speculation.
So what if Trump's master plan here, again, conspiracy theory, but what if his master plan here was to say there is a way, because Trump has said, to his credit, he has said, this is the war that will end the forever wars. Now, he has said that.
How would you explain that? This is the war that will end the forever wars. Trump promised no more forever wars. And he's saying this is the war that will end the forever wars. Well, why would he say that? Did he just like wake up one day and that phrase was in his head and so the words just came out of his mouth? Or did he say it for a reason because it meant something? Clearly he's saying if this war is fought, it will remove the reason, the pretext for the forever wars. Well, that ought to make you wonder, what's the pretext for the forever wars? Because he's just now told you his goal with this conflict is to eliminate the pretext for the forever wars so that the forever wars don't have to happen anymore. So what might that pretext be? Look at this. Now suddenly we've just asked ourselves a couple of questions and we're a little further down the conversation than just, Zion done.
The way that I've taken it, and probably you've taken it, is to say, what Trump is actually saying is that this war, when it's over with, the region will finally be safe. But maybe he's not saying that. Maybe what he's saying is the forever war started with us beginning to put bases all over the Middle East, to surround countries like Iran, to inhabit places like Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, and Afghanistan. We've got them everywhere, right? And so this is the only way to do it, is to allow the Iranians to destroy it and to pull everyone out and say, we can't be there anymore. We've got to leave that region of the world. And the way you get the Strait of Hormuz reopened is to say, you know what, Iran, we'll agree with you and we won't put U.S. troops back in those bases. Now the area is too dangerous and we're not going back. And in doing so, if this really were the case, again, I'll let you speak here, but it's a conspiracy. But if this were the case, the brilliance of it would be that Trump would manage to do that with all the neocon establishment running behind him, clapping like rabid dogs, yes, more, and pushing for it, and no one's resisting it. So he winds up wiping out, again, as I said before, $12 trillion worth of investment in this part of the world in terms of military power, gone, and he's able to pull out of it, and all of a sudden the neocons and Hillary Clinton and Lindsey Graham and all these people who loved it are like, oh, wait a minute. We don't have the ability to wage war anymore in that part of the world? It's a crazy theory, I know, but what if?
Luongo said go one step further and realize how many trillions of not just our investment, but everyone else's investment is being taken off the board. Ben has got part of the story here. The big picture is how to get out of this insanity and wipe out the hardware and the armies that were built to fight the war that is now here. If you've been listening to that little corner of the internet for a while, you would have heard Ian Burlingame mention this sort of premise that one of the ways that you prevent, there's all these little hotspots that have been placed very carefully in these different corners of the world, and there's infrastructure that's in place where they can be spun up, and you can, it's like build a world war. We've constructed all the little hotspots so that then we can light the match, and boom, world war. And it just so happens that the people who are the ones responsible for overseeing all that infrastructure, who hold on to it for all they're worth, trying to maintain these little hotspots, just so happen to also be the people who do things like Davos and global warming and climate change and 15-minute cities and eating the bugs and living in the pods. So it's almost like there was a global network set up to spark a world war that would lead to a mass sovereign debt collapse where all the resources and assets could be siphoned all the way up into one single global multilateral structure. Multinational structure, not multilateral. There's a difference. It's almost like maybe we'd call these people, I don't know, globalists or something. For those saying Trump team hadn't planned for Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, he just used it as a rationale to seize 90% of Iran's oil exports. Almost like it was part of a plan. My president said moments ago in my direction, the United States Central Command executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every military target on Iran's crown jewel, Karg Island. More about Karg Island in a minute. Our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world has ever known, but for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, I will immediately reconsider this decision. During my first term, and currently, I rebuilt our military into the most lethal, powerful, and effective force by far anywhere in the world. Iran has no ability to defend anything that we want to attack. There is nothing they can do about it. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, nor will it have the ability to threaten the United States of America, the Middle East, or for that matter, the world. Iran's military and all others involved with this terrorist regime would be wise to lay down their arms and save what's left of their country, which isn't much. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. So, what's the call to action? The call to action is Iran's military and all others involved with this terrorist regime. Interesting. I wonder who's included in that category. Who has been funding this regime? They would be wise to lay down their arms and save what's left of their country, which isn't much. So Karg Island is where the vast majority of Iran's oil is processed out of. It's a little island way up in the Persian Gulf, far removed from the Strait of Hormuz. Without that oil revenue, the IRGC is going to go bankrupt post-haste. JT Alexander says, I'm inclined to agree that it looks like we'll be taking Karg in the near future. This was just before the bombing. But I should clarify for folks that this island does not exert control over the Strait of Hormuz whatsoever, totally unrelated real estate. Karg is a pretty small island way up into the Gulf, used by Iran as its primary oil export terminal, accounting for 90% of Iran's oil exports. The reason it is so used is primarily due to depth of water. Iran's coastline is shallow, silty, and doesn't make for good ports. If you look closely, you'll notice they have fairly few for having such a large coastline. It's also closer to the Avaz and Maroon oil fields, which account for a majority of Iran's oil production. If you control this island, you control the bazaar merchants. I'll link my previous threads on their relevance in the comments. So just so you guys have a little perspective on this, this down here is the Strait of Hormuz. This up here is Karg Island. There's the island from above. It's several miles long. That's what it looks like. So you can see that the island exists to do all of the oil processing and shipping. And then you can see, so you got the Iranian map, and then you've got the traffic in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. And then this is, I think the green spots are all the different oil fields. Red is gas, green is oil. So you can see how significant of a hub this is. So much of the world's oil goes in and out through this narrow little point here, which means it is a major issue to global stability if the nation that controls this little choke point is antisocial, unreliable, hostile in whatever way. If that is the case, there will be a perpetual festering wound in this area that's constantly threatening to blow up and cause issues. And I forgot to mention this with the Ben Swan thing, riffing off of that a little bit. If Trump's goal was to ultimately use this as a pretext for withdrawing American personnel from the Middle East, perhaps a pretext for that would be doing something like setting up a council for all the different states in the region to cooperate together. You might even call it like a Gulf Cooperation Council, perhaps. And you would compel all the different states in the region to join this council. Wouldn't that be an interesting thing? He says, why do the merchants matter? Because they are a key pillar of the Velayat Faqih system, but one we want to control rather than destroy in order to facilitate a regime change that does not devolve into civil war. Sounds like a plan or something. Signals indicate the regime change phase of the 2026 Gulf War is about to begin. The Velayat Faqih is built on three pillars: clerical legitimacy, bazaar merchant wealth, and a robust and redundant security apparatus. The clerical legitimacy was already in serious question due to the numerous waves of protests over the years, and especially this last wave. The opening salvo of Epic Fury was a decapitation strike on the clerical establishment. There's a decent chance that Mojtaba Khamenei is incapacitated such that he doesn't even know he is the supreme leader. This pillar is extremely weak. The disruption of Iranian oil flow and the bombing of stored oil in Iran was a shot across the bow, so to speak, on the bazaar merchants. They'll be spared if they cooperate with what comes. And this is important because they will have some of the most important functions in the future of Iran. This pillar will lean whichever way the wind blows. You could think of this as Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz is kind of like it's like a prisoner going on a hunger strike. It's like, okay, you can just kill yourself if you want. And so then it's a question of who can outlast. But it's not just who can outlast this in like a static capacity. It's who can outlast while simultaneously being bombed and drone striked every single day. Having your defense capacity and your industrial capacity being steadily frittered down on one end, while you're also choking yourself out on the other end. The final pillar is the security apparatus. Remember, Iran has two parallel militaries, Artesh, the regular army, and Sepah, the IRGC. Under the IRGC is a subsidiary of sorts called the Basij, a gendarmerie National Guard / political force entity. The Basij are the primary branch that puts down protests and uprisings. All indications that aren't obvious enemy propaganda are that the IRGC and Artesh's war-making ability has been at least 92% degraded, objectively measurable by the rate of ballistic missiles launched. Both Artesh and Sepah air forces and navies have been destroyed. All they have left are ground forces and maybe some mines that were already laid in the straits. This is another thing. Both Hegseth and Trump have come out and given very specific, detailed timelines and goals. Like, degrade their entire ICBM capacity. Degrade their entire missile capacity, period. It's going to be 4 to 5 weeks. Like, these are specific. It's not some vague, like, we're going to go on a wild goose chase. These are very distinct, specific goals, targets, timelines. Monday, the IDF launched a series of sorties on Tehran, apparently targeting Basij muster points, equipment depots, and C2 nodes. With Iran's ability to fight back effectively neutralized, the war now shifts to lifting the boot off the Persian neck and putting the initiative into their hands. The exact course of events over the next week are going to be critical for the future of Iran. If the Shah actually returns, it would be the biggest regime change since Napoleon destroyed Venice and the HRE. Very, very low likelihood. This was, he says, it's still pretty early, but so far my February 19 assessment is holding strong. My biggest question remains the ability of any successor to consolidate power. I would think and hope with the brilliance that went into setting the stage for this war that this was prioritized. And this is what he'd said on February 19. I think Trump and Bibi were both pleasantly surprised themselves at the ease of the 12-day war and have concluded that given these popular uprisings, now is the time. There likely won't be a better time to destroy the Veliat once and for all. The longer they wait, the more likely it becomes the protests subside or are suppressed and the constant threat Iran always poses only gets worse. I do not believe the goal is an invasion, occupation, or nation building. The Iranian state is a fairly robust political system, and there are power brokers and subsystems in play that would be perfectly capable of stepping in and replacing the void left by the Veliat. There is a serious question about the stability of this change and whether an Iranian civil war might follow any regime change, but it depends a great deal on the exact course of events. This is where detailed, vetted information about the protests and uprisings would be very valuable. I would expect that if this buildup is for kinetic action, and not simply as a 500,000 plus ton sword of Damocles over Khamenei's head, that the strikes would be on one or both of two types of targets. First, precise kinetic action to remove key players and organs of the Veliat to facilitate an internal coup, and or total destruction of Iran's remaining military capability in the littoral regions. So that's the whole of it as far as I can see. Exactly correct. Exactly correct. It starts with the precise kinetic action to remove key players and organs to facilitate an internal coup, and then a steadily escalating, relentless destruction of Iran's remaining military capability. And Iran is given the choice. Trump keeps calling for them to surrender, lay down their arms and surrender. He's like, I could destroy this We could comprehensively destroy them with no problems whatsoever. We could lay the entire nation to waste. They would never come back from it. We could mass genocide all of them. It's perfectly within our control right now. But we don't want to do that. We want you to give up. We want you to surrender. So we're going to keep steadily applying pressure, cutting you off from the head and the foot and the legs at the same time. So taking over Karg Island, essentially, there was more here. This is the important part. I was going to wait until Monday to update my assessment. This was 3 days ago, based on what's happening with the weekend, but it appears I'm being rushed by events. Due to many variables and moving parts, I'm obliged to label this a low confidence assessment. We will want to control Karg Island either before or very shortly after March 21. March 21 is the IRGC's next payday. When those checks bounce or are not processed, desertions will begin. If the United States controls Karg when that happens, the bazaar merchants are going to have a strong interest in getting this war resolved quickly and see the writing on the wall. Who is available to pay them in with guns when the government can't? The rich guys. Either contemporaneously or very close in temporal proximity, the call to take to the streets will be given, and the reformists, Republicans, merchants, and militias will unite in a great push to overthrow the Veliat and the IRGC. This will probably begin in the Kurdish regions because they are the most experienced and most prone to rebellion and resistance. From the Kurds, it will spread to Tehran. Together, these parties can throw off the last of the security apparatus's ability to impose control in the streets, and, with some legal fiction, the Republican branch of the government can assert its supremacy to end the war and ask for terms. Don't hold to this too strongly because there's a lot that can change over the next couple of weeks, but that's what the tea leaves tell me as of this moment. Assuming this happens, at that point, China will be more supportive of the Iranian Republicans than the Iranian clerics. For the same reason, the merchants and troops will change their allegiance. That should be obvious. When the winds of power are clearly beginning to turn and the path of least resistance becomes just support the regime change, because again, this is a substantial flow of energy for China. It's very disruptive to them to have any sort of disruption to that. So if the United States was to bludgeon Iran into submission and then was to maintain control of the Strait of Hormuz in any capacity, that's going to be very hard on China. They're going to have a strong incentive to want shit opening up again. And Iran will just go completely bankrupt if they can't. So like having the Strait of Hormuz shut down is being talked about as if this is like some great feat that Iran accomplished against all odds, when it's literally the one thing they've constantly broadcast that they would do. It's the sword of Damocles that Iran holds over the global order, is the fact that they could shut down the Strait of Hormuz whenever they wanted. And they haven't even shut it down. They're letting some people through. So it's just a matter of time until someone goes, all right, I'm going to go for it. The United States says, we're going to give you a military escort, and we're going to ensure your cargo. One of them will go. Then another one. Then another one. Then another one. Then another one. And the longer that things aren't just totally falling apart and breaking everywhere, the less leverage that reveals the Iranians have. It begins to just be kind of a fiction that falls away. Remember what happened with Maduro in Venezuela. This is this massive thorn in the American sides. We know it's going to go on forever and ever and ever. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, and then yoink. And all of a sudden, seems like things are going pretty well. So there's reports that the USS Tripoli has been ordered to the Gulf in support of Epic Fury. This is from Seth J. Levy on X. This thread is going to lay out some interesting details. The Tripoli was ordered to be built in 2012. It was commissioned in 2020. However, there were specific upgrades ordered during Trump's first term. I asked Grok, would any of those spec updates, if publicly known, make it better adapted to a mission to capture and hold Karg Island? Now, this thread was from before the Karg Island bombing. And this is what Grok said. Yes, the F-35B specific updates, flight deck strengthening, heat-resistant modifications, communications and systems improvements, and design refinements for sustained operations would meaningfully improve Tripoli's adaptation to a capture and hold mission on Karg Island, particularly for the critical air support phase. Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export terminal, 16 miles offshore in the Persian Gulf, is a high-value defended target. Public scenarios for its seizure typically involve special operations forces, for example SEALs via submarine or Halo, to initial breach followed by marine vertical assault, MV-22 Ospreys and helicopters, to secure it, with sustained air and naval support to suppress Iranian coastal defenses, air threats, missiles, and counterattacks while holding the facility. Why these updates help that are publicly documented. Tripoli is a Flight Zero America-class LHA, deliberately aviation optimized with no well deck, sacrifice for larger hangars, more JP-5 fuel, expanded maintenance, and up to approximately 20 F-35Bs plus Ospreys and Helos. This design already favors vertical envelopment over traditional beach landings with heavy vehicles and LCACs, ideal for an island raid where troops and supplies can be airlifted once defenses are neutralized. The 2017 to 2020 refinements during final construction trials and delivery directly addressed early lessons from lead ship USS America. Deck strengthening and heat-resistant coatings and non-skid, comms/C2, and systems upgrades and technical design resolutions. In a Karg scenario, this translates to stealthy F-35B strikes/SEAD, suppressing Iranian radar SAMs and coastal artillery before Marines land, persistent close air support, defensive counter-air, and ISR overhead while forces hold the island, and then higher sortie rates without deck degradation, critical in a contested Persian Gulf environment with Iranian A2 and AD threats. Then I asked, would the US need to control the Strait of Hormuz in order to get the Tripoli into position? Grok says yes. In any realistic scenario involving the capture and hold of Karg Island, especially amid active or imminent conflict with Iran, the US would need to establish effective control or at least secure transit passage through the Strait of Hormuz to safely position USS Tripoli inside the Persian Gulf. So, if the plan is to send the Marines in there to seize and hold the island, and you need to get the USS Tripoli in there for that to happen, well, you bomb all of the military infrastructure on the island, and you achieve complete and total air superiority over the entire region, and just go around just booping out every little thing that pops up. And then you get yourself into the position where you can get the Marines in there, you hold Karg Island, and then it's curtains. Geography makes it unavoidable. Karg Island lies in the northern Persian Gulf, roughly 16 to 25 miles off Iran's coast and approximately 300 miles northwest of the Strait of Hormuz. There is no alternative sea route into the Persian Gulf. It's a literal dead-end body of water. Any ship the size of Tripoli, an 844-foot, 45,000-ton America-class LHA with a 26-foot draft, must enter via the Strait's 2-mile-wide commercial traffic lanes. Operational reality in a Karg seizure mission, the mission profile discussed earlier, Marine vertical assault supported by Tripoli's F-35Bs, MV-22s, and Helos, requires the ship to operate in the Persian Gulf near Karg for sustained air cover, troop insertion, and logistics. In peacetime routine Fifth Fleet operations, U.S. warships, including LHAs, transit the strait regularly under freedom of navigation without needing full control. But a Karg capture operation is inherently offensive and escalatory. Iran has repeatedly stated it would close or mine the strait in response to such threats. What control actually means here, it wouldn't require permanent occupation of both shores, but it would demand preceding strikes to neutralize Iranian threats, minesweepers, air missile suppression, and special ops on key islands. Heavy escort by destroyers, cruisers, submarines, and air cover during Tripoli's transit, and ongoing freedom of navigation enforcement while the ship operates inside the Gulf. So then, now the big one. By what day would the U.S. need to have safe operational control of the Strait of Hormuz in order that the Tripoli could make a direct journey to its needed position for a Karg Island operation without stopping? Come on. Approximately 12 to 16 days of steaming time from its current position in the Philippine Sea to a suitable operating area in the northern Persian Gulf near Karg Island for a capture and hold mission. By what day would the U.S. need to have safe operational control? March 25 to 27 of 2026. This is the latest date by which the U.S. must have safe operational control, i.e. cleared threats, mine countermeasures, air missile suppression, and escort security in place, of the Strait of Hormuz for USS Tripoli and its amphibious ready group to execute a direct non-stop transit from its current Philippine Sea operating area straight through the strait and onward to the northern Persian Gulf position needed for a Karg Island capture and hold mission. So that would be if they were just going to not stop at all. So they would need to have safe operational control by March 15 or March 25 to 27. So 9 days from now, minimum. There's the calculations. Why this is the exact window? Any delay waiting outside would break the direct or nonstop requirement. In a contested environment, establishing control requires pre-positioned forces to be in place before Tripoli arrives. So, he says this post by Suitable Politic is a good breakdown of the timelines leading up to the present. So he says, I think it goes deeper than that. If you take a look back to the first term, this entire thing is a coherent strategy for a single campaign to destroy a regional power at the apex of their powers, as the IRGC probably was in 2017. The first years are spent putting Iran in the aforementioned economic vice grip, slowly draining them. When the chokehold finally started to cut off oxygen, Trump launches the attack to kill Soleimani. Parallel to all of this, Trump is tasking Kushner with the relentless pursuit of strengthening relationships between the Israelis and the Gulf Arabs, as well as between the US and the Gulf Arabs. Iran had won negotiations in the past by stalling out the clock, making an American president feel pressured into a subpar deal just so they felt like they did something to curb the IRGC's nuclear ambitions. Trump turned that strategy around on them, using his own negotiations as a front while he prepared for war in the backdrop. Between 2020 and 2024, Israel assumes almost full command of the mission. After October 7th, Netanyahu had the political capital he needed to obliterate all of the terrorist proxies that Iran uses an irregular standing army. When Trump returns, he first tried to settle Russia and Ukraine. His hope was to turn Russia against Iran diplomatically, forcing Iran to negotiate in earnest. Russia rebuffed the U.S. at every turn, as is their wont. I've documented this before on here that I disagree with him on this point. I think the fact that Russia is behaving as they are is an indicator that they have effectively turned against Iran diplomatically. With that option off the table, Trump goes back to Plan A. The 60-day clock to make a deal has started. Once Iran doesn't live up to those 60 days, the 12-day war erupts. The 12-day war was to clear the skies from Midnight Hammer, but it was also an intelligence gathering operation. They wanted to see what Iran's air defenses looked like. Compared to Israel's air forces, it looked like nothing. After Midnight Hammer, Trump hoped that the IRGC might see that further defiance is a true hazard to their health. They didn't. So Trump went to work making the U.S. public mostly okay with Operation Epic Fury. He pretended to still be negotiating to make a point of how hard he's trying, even though he knew that time had long since passed. He picked that time to make a spectacle of kidnapping Maduro and taking control of Venezuela's oil supply to show that regime change was both feasible and rewarding. Imagine if he'd seeing the freak out that has come from this. Imagine if he had not done the Maduro thing before all of this. If he hadn't done the Maduro thing before all of this, I would probably be more freaked out. Helping his case was the domestic uprising in Iran. When Trump championed the cause of protecting or avenging the protesters to the best of his ability, it provided a humanitarian reason to do what he was already going to do. Once the political capital was amassed, Epic Fury was launched. It's been a joint campaign between Trump and Israel that has gone on since 2017, and the enemy has attempted to fight back. I believe that a lot of the Israel hand-wringing and the resurrection of Epstein's ghost had a lot to do with an attempt to divide the players in this joint operation, but it failed, and the end result is going to be a new Iran with economic ties to both Israel and the United States. And I also do happen to think that the likely follow-on from this is going to be a politically fractured and weakened Israel. They're going to be, because I think it's underappreciated just how much of a shelling Israel has taken every time one of these things has happened, how much they have been degraded themselves. And, and Netanyahu might be able to, if it's a big success, maybe he's able to use that as like a get out of jail free sort of thing. But the political situation in Israel is so much more fractured and unstable than any of the guys who spend all of their time thinking about Israel actually realize. Yes, let him know. Bibi owns Trump despite the fact that Trump makes Bibi take all the missiles. That's exactly what's happened here. The operational tempo very clearly has been controlled by the United States. And Israel is the proxy for the United States, which incidentally is why all of the Browns that are like anti-Israel, they're anti-Israel because they see Israel as a proxy of the United States. Iran doesn't hate Israel because of Jews. Iran hates Israel because they see Israel as the West. So Seth Levy says, seems clear that Trump has been strategizing for a very long time how he would capture Karg Island and end the Islamic Republic's grip on Iran, going back to at least 1988, when he gave the quote in the attached picture. He said, in 1988, the year I was born, he said, I'd be harsh on Iran. They've been beating us psychologically, making us look like a bunch of fools. One bullet shot at one of our men or ships, and I'd do a number on Karg Island. I'd go in and take it. Iran can't even beat Iraq, yet they push the United States around. It'd be good for the world to take them on. 1988. And people want to talk like, oh, Trump's desperate now. He realized, oh shit, it didn't work. Now I've got to take Karg Island. Before any of these motherfuckers was born, Trump was fantasizing about taking Karg Island. And then in 2017, he said this.
I remember hearing from one of my instructors, the United States has never lost a war. And then after that, it's like, we haven't won anything. We don't win anymore. The old expression, to the victor belong the spoils. You remember I always used to say, keep the oil. I wasn't a fan of Iraq. I didn't want to go into Iraq. But I will tell you, when we were in, we got out wrong. And I always said, in addition to that, keep the oil. Now, I said it for economic reasons. But if you think about it, Mike, if we kept the oil, you probably wouldn't have ISIS because that's where they made their money in the first place. So we should have kept the oil. But, okay. Maybe you'll have another chance. But the fact is, you should have kept the oil. Remember here.
Once again, you could disagree with it all. But if we can at least start the conversation with recognizing that there is clearly a plan, then we can't even have a conversation. And so here was the confirmation on March 13th that U.S. defense official confirms to Fox News that the Pentagon is sending the USS Tripoli, a Marine amphibious ready group, and the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit to Mideast. The Tripoli is stationed outside of Japan and would take about 2 weeks to get there. Accompanying the ARG and the MEU are approximately 2,500 U.S. Marines. And I gotta say, those dudes have gotta be fucking geeked. So, here's a great example of how I think Kurt Mills is a decent dude. He's a little soft, but I think he's a decent dude. Very anti-neocon. But here's a fantastic example of how these sorts of gay psyops get off the ground. Here's this clip, 33 seconds, of the president.
Zero. We don't need oil. We have all the oil we need for ourselves. It's one of the great assets that we have. We have more than double what anybody else in terms of oil production. We're at more than double any other country. So we don't need it, but we did it. It's almost, you could say we did it out of habit, which is not a good thing to do. But we did it because we have some good allies there. We have some great Middle Eastern countries there, Israel there. So we did it for a lot of reasons. But zero.
So, you hear that clip, and if you don't know the context of that clip, you might hear that and you're like, damn. All right, Trump, why are you saying stuff like that? What is that supposed to mean? We did it out of habit, which is not a great thing to do. We did it for Israel. He says, literally just saying stuff. Now, imagine, if you would, a phenomenon whereby Trump says something and someone clips out 33 seconds. What did he mean by this? Clips out 33 seconds of it and gets very mad about what he thinks is being said. And then imagine that you hear a minute and 32 seconds worth of that clip.
Mentioned the significant amount of oil that China derives from the Middle East. What is the status of your conversation with President Xi in terms of getting China to cooperate in terms of making the Strait of Hormuz safe for those oil tankers?
Yeah, so China is a great example. They get 91% of their oil from the Hormuz Straits, which we protected for years. And it always bothered me that we have these countries. Japan gets 95% of its from the Straits, the Hormuz Straits. And it always bothered me that we're protecting and we don't need them. We didn't need them before we started dig we must. Dig me must. That's the Trump policy of lots of oil. and we didn't use them very much.
Dig we must, I think is what he was saying.
It used to be at 10%. Now it's at almost zero. We don't need, we don't need oil. We have all the oil we need for ourselves. It's one of the great assets that we have.
America is a net exporter of oil. So China, Japan, they're getting all of this oil from the Strait of Hormuz. And we're the ones that are protecting it. We're the ones that are ensuring that it's open. When it's closed, it's our problem. We're the ones that have to deal with it.
We have more than double what anybody else in terms of oil production. We're at more than double any other country. So we don't need it, but we did it. It's almost, you could say we did it out of habit, which is not a good thing to do. But we did.
We did what out of habit? Contextually, you've got the fuller clip now. What is he saying? I don't know if you guys are just debating what we should call Kurt Mills. Dirt spills, dirt fills, dirt shills, dirt, I don't know. What is he saying we did out of habit? He's saying we just protected the Strait of Hormuz out of habit. We don't need the oil. We've got more than enough of our own. We're just protecting the Strait of Hormuz for free. We're not even getting anything out of it. That's what he's talking about. If you take the 33-second clip, it sounds like he's saying we just attacked Iran just kind of out of habit, I guess. And if you've got this Saturday morning cartoon brain about politics, you would actually believe something like that. You would actually believe that Donald Trump would say, oh yeah, we bombed Iran just kind of out of habit. It wasn't a good thing that we did that, but we did it for Israel. If your brain has been completely rotted by fake smart guy slop on the internet, then you might believe that that's what he's saying. No, he's saying we were protecting the Strait of Hormuz to the benefit of all these other people for free, just out of habit.
We did it because we have some good allies there. We have some great Middle Eastern countries there, Israel there. So we did it for a lot of reasons. But it always amazed me that we did it. We never asked for reimbursement. And it was really there to serve other countries, not us. And
that's the full clip. I think that fucking A.G. Hamilton is a goober. And here, I'm in a position, Kurt Mills, where I have to say, you gotta hand it to A.G. Hamilton. He says, yeah, you're a dishonest propagandist and shill on behalf of the Islamic Republic. And he posts the full clip in context. Even fucking Aaron Rupar! Hail victory!
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter.
Don't be gay. Trust the plan.
So true! Absolute patriot. Hail victory. Thank you, sir. Thank you also to Emperor Atreides for sending the kicks over. Oh, I got some new soundboard ones for you guys.
Nigga, we ride with Donald Trump over here, nigga. Don't fuck with my motherfucking president. Keep my motherfucking president name out your mouth. Fuck, niggas.
So true. Look at my African American. Where's that one?
Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. Well, you must be a high IQ person.
Kurt Mills, you've got me having to say you got to hand it to A.G. Hamilton. And here he goes and sees the full context. And this is his response. What are you talking about? You just added 30 seconds to the clip that had nothing to do with the direct quote. See, you didn't feature this, Iran. You're banking on your audience to be imbeciles. Bro, I just listened to the full clip. And it was clearly directly what led up to the direct quote. He's saying we protected the Strait of Hormuz for free. We just did it out of habit. We're just like, I don't know, we're just protecting it. Iran's a pain in the ass. Can't negotiate with them. I'm not negotiating in good faith. And it's our responsibility to protect the Strait of Hormuz. But if we try to solve the Iran problem, then everyone's like, but did you think about the Strait of Hormuz? fuck, man? Republican support for war with Iran jumped from 23% to 85% the moment Trump started the war. Roman Shirameta, Ukraine flag and bio, says, I honestly cannot explain this. I can explain it, but that's because I'm American. I know my people. Roman does not know my people. Before the strikes on Iran, Republican voters were overwhelmingly opposed to U.S. involvement in a conflict between Israel and Iran. A survey by YouGov and The Economist found that only 23% of Republicans supported U.S. military involvement, while 53% opposed it. However, attitudes shifted almost immediately after Trump ordered U.S. airstrikes on Iran. A survey conducted after Trump's bombing campaign showed support climbing to 85% among Republicans. For me, this rapid reversal illustrates one thing. Trump has transformed the Republican Party into a cult, where people follow not principles, but a man. Sounds like a dissident right poster. Nick Carter, could it be because we got incredibly salient new information? Like the fact that Iran admitted they haven't had enough fissile material for 10 bombs and refused to give it up? Or, JT Alexander says, I can explain this very easily, actually. People aren't largely against America waging war. They're against America losing wars. When Trump launched an attack against Iran and was able to effectively castrate them within 48 hours, that turned a lot of doves into hawks. And if that surprises you, and you're American, you need to get to know your own people better. All of this, Trump is going to lose the midterms because of Iran. Trump's going to lose the anti-war vote. Yeah, the anti-war vote is minuscule. Because it turns out most people are not actually anti-war. They're anti-dumb war. They're anti-losing wars. The people that get really mad about America winning wars are not a political constituency worth considering. Because that's what you are. If you're mad about this, you're mad about America winning wars. Who would be mad about their own country winning a war? Yeah, war is bad. Wars undertaken for no reason are bad. We should have as little war as possible. If we're going to have war, it should be undertaken competently, swiftly, with as little loss of life as possible. And that's exactly what we're watching happen right now. From all of these so-called anti-war people, I would like to know, give me a scenario in which you would be happy to have the U.S. military used, where you would consider it justifiable for the U.S. military to be used. And if you say that you think the U.S. military's only responsibility is to repel invaders, I would like to welcome you to the 21st century. The United States is an empire. The question is it going to be a competent, effective empire or an incompetent, ineffective empire? There are going to be wars. There is going to be the use of the military. And the only question is it going to be used effectively, successfully, for things that benefit Americans? Eradicating the IRGC directly benefits Americans. And if that doesn't compute for you, then there's nothing that I'm going to be able to say at the end of an episode that is going to convince you. Let's see here. What time is it? Just past midnight. I've got some stuff here on AI sorts of things. But, I don't know. Should I keep going? We're at 132, so we're doing pretty good. Reminded that there's a $47 tip alert as well. I know that hasn't been used a lot, and then I left. But that one is out there. Thank you, Emperor Atreides. Appreciate you. Do it? Okay. I'll do it with the expectation that I won't be doing it for free. Nematoder just showed up. Okay, yeah, I gotta do it for Nematoder. But before I get into that, I need to give my voice just a little bit of a break because I've been yelling a lot. And I am going to go
Welcome
use
to the
restroom.
Gulag.
Bobby
If you
Ballbags!
survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you, Patriot, for the gifted subs. That definitely helps. Gigaju, Forever Bulk. Willing Always just showed up and gets a gifted sub right away. Thank you for that. Thank you, Nematoder, for the kicks. All right, I'm going to... yeah, Bobby is now on the nice list. I am going to give you guys a brief little bit of EWBSX, and then we'll eat some leftist ass, and then we'll get to the AI conversation. So, I'll be back in just a few minutes.
She's just like you and me, but she's homeless. She's homeless. As she stands there singing for money, la la dee la doo da, 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 la la dee la doo da. I'm caught in your grace, everlasting. Your light will shine when all else fades, never ending. Your glory goes beyond all fame. justice and praise become my embrace, to love you from the inside out. Everlasting, your light will shine when all else fades. Never ending, your glory goes beyond all fame. And the cry of my heart is to
the cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get my hands around your throat.
Welcome back. Please do tip your streamer. We're going to talk about some AI stuff now. Some cool AI things. Some cool projects that people have undertaken. And then a guy grappling with the fact that having AI in his life is causing him to have like an existential crisis, basically. And some interesting thoughts related to that. So please do remember to tip your streamer, even if you're listening to this later on. Even if you are not listening live, you can always go to tips.kingpill.com. That's the best way to support the show. You can also join the King Pill Discord. Thank you to Nematoder for the kicks. Thank you to Emperor Atreides for the kicks. You guys are patriots. Anytime you can go to tips.kingpill.com, but make sure you also go to forum.kingpill.com. That way, when we do hit the goal, then someone will win a random drawing and get 10% of the total goal sent back to them. I got a text back from Hunter, the winner, last night, and he has also chosen. He says he's a Replay Gang guy, so shout out to our Replay Gang folks. He has also chosen a Steam gift card. So if you would like the Labe chat to sponsor your video game habit, then go to forum.kingpill.com and sign up over there to be part of the random drawing, no purchase necessary. And please do contribute to the daily tip goal, tips.kingpill.com. All right. There's also Cash App and Venmo if you want to do it at Kingpilled. This guy says, dude, computers are actually so fucking insane when you really think about it. We literally figured out how to write some fake-ass rules called code and somehow convinced rocks to follow them. Like actual rocks. Sand, melted, purified, carved into tiny pathways where electricity just flows in patterns. That's it. That's the whole magic. And yet, from that, we get operating systems, compilers, kernels, networks, distributed systems, machine learning models, entire virtual worlds running inside other virtual worlds, billions of tiny electrical decisions per second, all because we defined some abstract logic. Humans basically invented a language of instructions and taught matter itself to execute it. So there's your stoner thought for the day. From Ole Lehman, I can't believe nobody caught this. Anthropic's entire growth marketing team was just one person. For 10 months, confirmed. This would be the company behind Claude. A single non-technical person ran paid search, paid social, app stores, email marketing, and SEO for the $380 billion company behind Claude. Here's exactly how one human is doing the job of a full marketing team. It starts with the CSV. First, he imports all his existing ads from his ad platforms along with their performance metrics. Click-through rates, conversions, spend, etc. Second, he feeds the whole file into Claude Code. And third, he tells it what to find what's underperforming. Claude analyzes the data, flags the weak ads, and generates new copy variations on the spot. This is where he gets clever. He then splits the work into two specialized sub-agents. The first one only writes headlines, capped at 30 characters. The second one only writes descriptions, capped at 90 characters. Each agent is tuned to its specific constraints, so the quality is way higher than cramming both into a single prompt. So now he's got hundreds of fresh headlines and descriptions, but that's just the text. He still needs the actual visual ad creative, the images and banners that go on Facebook, Google, etc. So he built a Figma plugin that first takes all those new headlines and descriptions, second finds the ad templates in his Figma files, and third automatically swaps the copy into each one. Up to 100 ready-to-publish ad variations generated at half a second per batch. What used to take hours of duplicating frames and copy-pasting text by hand So now the ads are live. The next question is which ones are actually working. For that, he built an MCP server, basically a custom integration that lets Claude talk directly to external tools, connected to the Meta Ads API. So he can ask Claude things like, which ads had the best conversion rate this week, or where am I wasting spend? And get real answers from live campaign data without ever opening the Meta Ads dashboard. And the part that ties it all together and closes the loop, he set up a memory system that logs every hypothesis and experiment result across ad iterations. So when he goes back to step 1 and generates the next batch of variations, Claude automatically pulls in what worked and what didn't from all previous rounds. The system literally gets smarter every cycle. That kind of systematic experimentation across hundreds of ads would normally need a dedicated analytics person just to track. So here's the numbers from the docs. Ad creation went from 2 hours to 15 minutes, so 10x more creative output. And it would be 8x if he's talking minutes and hours here, but yeah. And he's now testing more variations across more channels than most full marketing teams. A $380 billion company in their entire growth marketing operation, not just GDM or go-to-market, is just one person and Claude code. The growth marketing, this is from Anthropic. The growth marketing team focuses on building out performance marketing channels across paid search, paid social, mobile app stores, email marketing, and SEO. As a non-technical team of one, they use Claude Code to automate repetitive marketing tasks and create agentic workflows that would traditionally require significant engineering resources. So you could look at this story and on one hand, think of it as, holy crap, look at how many jobs are being lost. Or you could look at it on the other from the other side and be like, look how capable one single person is able to be. Think about how productive this is going to enable individual people to be and how many more jobs are going to be generated because of it. Suddenly, the barrier to invention, the barrier to creation, is so much lower than it used to be. Now, that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. Sometimes the barriers are good. But this doesn't eliminate barriers, it introduces new ones. You solve one set of problems so that you can get the opportunity to solve a new set of problems. And this pattern will persist and will continue throughout all of human civilization. Every single time there's a new piece of technology, this is what happens. The particular set of people, the early adopters, are the ones who benefit the most from it. And they create entire new industries. They generate trillions of dollars of value that was never even conceivable before. Now, here is a guy having an existential crisis, basically. Not Steve Skojec here. He's commenting on it. But the guy has a video down here that we'll watch where he's describing what it's like for him engaging with all this. Steve Skojec says, this is a really thoughtful reflection. I didn't intend to watch the whole thing, but I ended up doing it anyway. AI is like playing a hard game you can't beat with cheat codes on. It's amazing at first, but it becomes boring very quickly. So here is this guy here. I was a 10x engineer. Now I'm useless. I'll speed this up just a little bit because I had the same thing. I was like, all right, I'll start listening to it and I'll see if I end up watching the whole thing. And I ended up watching the whole thing. So now I will share it with you guys.
AI has completely one-shotted my ability to code. Like, I know a lot of us like to joke about AI psychosis and how it's the other people who have AI psychosis and not us, and not me, certainly. But I have realized that I've been one-shotted. Like, I can't code anymore. My brain has been fried by the easy button that the LLM companies have provided, where you press a button and you get instant results. And now my dumbass brain, when I want to sit there and try to code by hand, it says, why would you do that? Why would you code by hand when you could press a button and get similar results, seemingly? Why the hell would you do this by hand, you idiot? And so now I'm like, I need to ship a software product, but I'm completely at the mercy of the AI companies to build a model for me that can do my job. But there's a couple problems with that. One is that responsible developers are presumably supposed to be like reviewing their code. In practice, everyone knows that you can't review AI code. not only is it impossible to keep up with the AIs, they want to move like 1,000 miles per hour, and we're here like 30 miles per hour, like reading, trying to understand every line. It's impossible to keep up with. And so the question is, well, can we ship products without reviewing the code? And in recent videos, I've been trying to warm up to that idea because it is what I need to ship my product. Take OpenClaw as proof of that. Peter Steinberger never looked at the code. It's huge. It's a monstrosity. He's never looked at the code. And he's testament to just what can be done, I guess, if you don't care about the code.
Now he's got 10 more minutes of this, so I try to keep this a little brief. But I can imagine, as I sit here and watch this, I'm imagining watching it from the perspective of someone 20 years from now, looking back at people beginning to first kind of grapple with the implications of AI. And he's like, I'm sitting here like trying to read the code and grappling. Do I push something out with having fully reviewed all the code and all the bugs potentially and security threat vectors and all this sort of stuff. And 20 years from now, this is going to be like looking back at someone being like, you know, I don't even know what to do with myself with like transportation anymore. You know, all I do now is I just climb inside this box and I like turn a key and then I can just drive. You know, I don't have to go into the stable and get the saddle and bring the saddle out and brush the horse down and put the saddle on and get the bridle all attached. And like, all I do is I just go turn the key and just start driving. I don't even know what to do with myself anymore. This is like, I'm imagining someone then looking back now at this, because this is like a very new thing. But, you know, even maybe my own son will look back at this fondly as kind of like, oh, look at that. Like people who are just first encountering computers for the first time. And they're like, oh, I could, like, I used to just sit and write. I used to like write my, write letters on by hand. And I was like personally interfacing with the paper and I was feeling it and I was smelling it. And sometimes, you know, the ink would run out and I'd have to refill the ink on my pen. And, you know, now I'm just sitting here typing away. It's funny because the human being is both striving for the new thing that's beyond, recognizing the utility of that, but then also feeling torn because it's like, well, here's how I've always done things. And how am I going to go on without being able to do things the hard way?
It's no secret that if you don't look at the code, you'll go really fast. In my last video, I likened vibe coding to essentially evolution with natural selection, where evolution seemingly has no idea what it's doing. To code up something as precise as a hand, it doesn't say, hey, I want to make a hand. How do I code it up? No, it tries random things. And if it passes the tests, it adds it to the DNA stack. As long as you survive, you'll add your DNA to the gunk of the DNA code base, which is absolutely incomprehensible, inscrutable. And yet it made us. And so it's like, well, if evolution can do that, why can't I have this LLM, which is not even, it's better than random, clearly. And if you pit it up with some tests, as long as it passes those tests, then why can't I do something like evolution does? Like, you know, if it's good enough to make me, it's good enough to make my damn to-do app. Yesterday was a perfect opportunity to test that hypothesis. ChatGPT 5.4 came out yesterday and everyone's somewhat raving about it. So I was like, okay, let's try that. The directive that evolution seemingly gives to natural organisms is don't die. And as long as you do that, you're doing something good. And so I was like, all right, what is the directive for me to make my...
Obviously, all the evolution stuff, like I don't even need to get into it, but I'll just say again, live life abundantly, be fruitful and multiply. You know, it's just evolution saying don't die, you know.
Product go from not existing on the internet to existing on the internet and getting customers. And so I was like, okay, well, the app is currently on my machine. It's on localhost, but I need it to be deployed to an actual environment. And I need people to be able to hit the download button and be able to sign up and start using the app. So I was like, okay, that is the validation criteria. That's the survival. That's the end result. Now, in theory, I should be able to give that end result to an LLM model. And if I give it the right environment, if I give it the right tools, then it should be able to automate that result from start to finish. So that's what I did. I gave Codex 5.4. It had access to the AWS command line. It had access to the GitHub API so that I could read the pipelines and see how things are doing. It could commit the code. I said, just do it all. I'm not going to look at the code. And so I started on that prompt and it worked. Like, you know, you go on shape.work right now, you can hit the download button. Everything works. It's there. But there's a problem. And it's that I have no idea who I am anymore in this process. Software is like, especially in the ground phases, in the early day zero phases, it's supposed to be a really intimate thing between you as the provider and the users that you are trying to sell your product to. You're offering your users something more than just, commodity software that they can get from Microsoft or Google or something. You're offering something like artisanal, handcrafted, really close support, a really tight feedback loop. And yet, what I created here is something that I have no emotional attachment to. I'm unable to sell it. I'm unable to offer it to my users because I have no feelings towards it. Because
he's describing the process of commoditizing something. This is one of the big things that AI is going to do, is it's commoditizing software. So anyone whose identity has been built up in software, their only choice is either going to be to lean heavily into the equivalent of someone who only uses their own hand-carved tools or something like that. You're going to really lean into the artisanal. Everything's going to be really custom and handmade, and which is going to actually really raise the value of that. So you wind up getting the benefit of both. The actual labor of love that goes into the artisanal work is valued much higher. But for everyone else, where this is just like tedium that has to be done, that creates barriers to entry, it's extra costs, it's extra slowdown, it's essentially now wasted productivity. Now you've just taken one of the most powerful forces known to man and commoditized it.
Because I didn't do anything. I didn't earn it. I didn't suffer for it. I've created this hot dog that it's presumably food, but no one really knows what's inside. It's just encased in some kind of synthetic wrapper, and it's here's food. And you take the hot dog and you put it in the sandwich. It fits in the sandwich. You put the ketchup or not, and you take a bite. You're like, this tastes good. This tastes like food. It's calories. And so the transaction has been completed. You pay money, you get some calories. But I can't do that. I can only work on something that I'm passionate about. And the second I lose interest in something, you can't pay me $1 billion to do it. I can't work on something I'm not passionate about. And now I've seemingly created a hot dog business and my job is to sell it. Well, I don't want to do that. Typically, as craftspeople, as developers, as engineers, as artists, the art changes us while we work on it because we struggle and we suffer for it. We work for it. We go to sleep uncertain about how we're going to solve this problem, and we wake up with a solution, and we're excited by that and enlivened by that. And all that is gone now. There's no more suffering or struggling for things and being changed by things and having your brain expand and grow. You no longer become a better person by doing projects. That was the number one way everybody like me figured out how to launch a business or how to become a developer if you were self-taught. You did it by just doing things, and now we're all making hot dogs. I don't know how to...
Okay, Willing Always sent in a tip, but it looks like the automation rejected it, and I'm guessing it's because there is the underscore in the name. So I will play you this one from earlier, so you get your Erica. Willing Always goes on the list.
Make more babies with your woman. God was gracious and made it fun.
That was from Ryan Isaac earlier, and I had to play it again because it's a good message. Willing Always said it really is turning sand into something that can do math. Incredible if you think about it or know anything about the knowledge and infrastructure needed to bring this into reality. Whatever. It lets us eat leftist ass and laugh. Ooh, yeah. There you go. You got your Erica. Thank you, Willing Always. Patriot. So, when you listen to this, you could listen to it and you could be like, man, this is total, first world problems. He's like, oh, all of a sudden my job got really easy and I feel like I can't identify with it anymore because I identify so much with the struggle and the labor that goes into it. We're very familiar with labor here at the ASTROLABE, the Labor Party. So on one hand, yeah, it's true. It's true that there is something important and character building about struggling. One might even write a book about their struggle. Yet on the flip side, understand the subtext here. He's kind of burying the lead, which is that his high value job just got so easy to automate, he doesn't know what to do with himself. And it's kind of a crossroads for him. Like, he could just become totally checked out and demoralized and whatever, or he could recognize that this is a calling. Hey, this thing that you identified yourself with, it just got automated to enable you to go find something bigger and better beyond that.
Feel any kind of emotional bond to the output of my work anymore. I have a sense that a lot of us may be in this sort of like liminal waiting space where no one has any idea what's happening anymore. You have like World War III starting between countries and other countries, World War III between governments and AI labs. You have the looming threat of AI putting us all out of work, figuring out what use we have anymore. In the meantime, we're distracting ourselves with like McDonald's new sandwich and the Shape Store. I think everyone is in mass psychosis and we don't even realize it. And I don't even know what can be done anymore. We're holding our breath for these 2 AI labs to figure out what is the caliber of these models. Are our jobs safe or not? And it's why you have 2 very heated camps trying to adapt to the new world. One,
he does look like a knockoff Alex Hormozi. I thought the same thing. When I first saw it, I was like, whoa, is that? Oh no, it's not Alex.
camp says, you're going to get left behind. Here's how you adapt. You got to use the tools. The other camp says, no, these LLMs are idiotic statistical machines. Like, you'll get left behind if you use them. And honestly, that's the camp that I'm feeling like I'm in. I've used these tools and now I've one-shotted my brain. My brain is completely useless now. It has no use for coding. The only way for me to get it back, I can get it back, but I would have to just delete Codex. Uninstall it, cancel my subscription. I'm not going to do that realistically because there will be some tasks that I know AI will be good for. But here's the problem. You can say like, okay, just do the really hard stuff yourself. And when it comes to like a laborious, mundane task, just have the AI do it. And that's what I tried. But what happens is you're working on something really hard. And so you spend like a day doing it, you're coding. And by the end of it, you're like, man, that was hard. It was rewarding, but it was hard. And then you're like, okay, let's have the AI now wire everything up. So you say, AI, wire everything up for me. And it does it in like 10 minutes and it one-shots it. And you're like, oh, wow, that was really easy. Why don't I do this more often? It's a real drug, man. I think it is. It's the best way to describe it is it's a drug and you can't wean off. Once you do it, you just want to do it all the time. And the only way to regain your sense of humanity is to get rid of the drug altogether. There's no middle ground of like Mondays and Tuesdays, I'll do crack, Wednesdays, a little bit of heroin, but Friday through Sunday, I'm going to be clean, I promise. No, it's not going to happen. You got to go cold turkey. And for me right now, I'm unwilling to do that because it's just gotten so bad. The dependence has gotten so bad. My livelihood is at stake here. It used to be, if you were an engineer, you could always like go take a 1-year sabbatical and go like work on some woodworking projects that like cutting boards that you'll sell online or something. But you could always just hop right back into another dev job, right? That was always the premise before AI. Every single developer, probably the reason we're so cocky, right? Everyone who's not a developer hates developers. That's why they love seeing AI take us over. We were so cocky because we knew that you needed us and we could step away and you'd beg us to come back, and every developer could go take a 1-year off and come back to like a higher paying job than they had before. And now I don't know if that's the same reality we live in anymore. What does the interview look like today? Could I get a job as an engineer? What does it mean to be an engineer now? How do I impress an interviewer? Like, what's my resume? Like, oh, I could code JavaScript at 3 miles an hour? Like, what value is that anymore? I don't know. And you know, what it means to be in a job. I don't know what anything means anymore. It's a form of psychosis, honestly.
Willing always says, I used to bang nails in with my forehead, but now I have a hammer. What should I do? There's actually something I think that's very, there's like a wholesome spirit in here, which is him recognizing the value of asceticism. That it's not an unmitigated good to just have everything made easy for you. It's good to struggle for things. It's good to, but then on the flip side, he's also like, oh, wait a second, now I have to actually struggle. So he's like, I was comfortable struggling in this way. This is like a struggle that I have control over, but now I'm being put into this different environment where suddenly it's not really easy. I can't just like I have this really good paying job that doesn't challenge me in uncomfortable ways. It challenges me in comfortable ways. And I could just put it down or pick it up or put it down or pick it up. And now suddenly, wait a second, I need to have a lot more foresight. I need to have a lot more planning. I need to insulate myself more, be much more intentional in what I'm doing. I'm getting stretched outside my comfort zone. And I don't think that there's necessarily harm. I don't think it's bad to do what he's saying, where he's like, hold on a second. There's something about this that's setting off alarm bells. This isn't going to be good for me to, if I find all my meaning in coding, then I need to figure out a way that I can do like bespoke coding where people will pay a premium to have it done by a human or whatever. There's going to be new little sub industries that sprout up around it. But again, the lead here is this stuff that used to be very expensive, namely web development or software engineer services. These things that we used to have to pay a lot to get. Suddenly the cost of getting them has gone way, way down. If you think about how much of the world is built upon software and those who can manage software, if the cost of that suddenly gets almost absolutely commoditized, it's going to be extremely disruptive, but it's also suddenly created a massive expanse in the productive capacity of humanity above and beyond where it was before.
The only way is to delete these tools. Honestly, I may have just talked myself up to do that, man. Like, seriously, I may have to become like anti-AI. Like, I don't know, man. I'm like losing myself. I'm losing my ability to care about things. I'm losing my ability to care about like software art anymore. I can't sell this junk. It's working. Yes, it works. It's functional. It'll take you from point A to point B, but there's no pride in it for me. Maybe you'll just say, well, hey, how's that any different from hiring an employee who does all the work? But presumably you also hire like-minded people who are passionate. You don't want to hire a drone who just checks in and clocks out every day. No, you want to hire like-minded people who have the same passion. You can't hire a passionate LLM. So that the whole thing is just completely soulless. It's unsellable. I thought my hurdle was like an ethical qualm against vibe coding, but it turns out that even if I suspend my ethical dilemmas, you end up just with something you don't have any interest in selling. My only option forward is to write this by hand, but I've lost that skill. And I also know that it is a lot of work. LLMs remind us more than anything about how much work it was to actually ship a finished product. That stuff takes.
Yes. How much work it used to be to ship a finished product. Suddenly that work has been drastically compressed. Now, every shortcut comes with a cost. You're going to pay that somewhere else. And he's kind of identifying, he's orbiting around some of those costs. Those costs shouldn't just be shrugged off or you know, there is the tale of Prometheus is what it is for a reason. But I think right now, a lot of people are really over-indexing on that because of probably, I don't know, general low openness and fear about the future and a general feeling of instability. But this is why I'm going to keep hammering away at this. The world is changing very, very rapidly. Most people who feel unstable with the changes don't even grok just how massive the changes are. Agility and flexibility and innovation and creativity are going to earn a premium now. Just doing things the way they've been done before is very quickly moving out of fashion. And those who are high agency, who are innovative and creative, who are willing to take risks to stride off into the unknown, they're going to be paid in big, big ways.
Takes years, man.
Bigly.
It does. And an LLM could do that for you. If you do the devil's bargain, it'll do that for you in like a day. What we do is, because the deal is so damn good, we change ourselves to make that deal acceptable. And what I've figured out now is that I'm unwilling to change myself to make that deal acceptable. I thought I'd be willing to because, hey, I want to be a savvy businessman.
At least he's self-aware about this. Like, at least he's looking at himself and trying to be honest and self-aware in his assessment. He's like, at its root, it's my own ego. It's my own pride. I'm not willing to change myself.
Who doesn't care about what the product is. You should be able to sell anything. And this is day one of me recognizing that I probably need to really delete ChatGPT. Am I the only one feeling this way? Like, what does it feel like to be an employee? What does it feel like to be someone looking for a job, to be disconnected from your work? Or are you having more fun at work? Like, what is going on? Please share your story. And if you think there's a way to make this all work that I'm missing, please let me know. So thanks for listening and thanks for watching. AI.
So Steve Skojek said, AI is like playing a hard game you can't beat with cheat codes on. It's amazing at first, but it becomes boring very quickly. But worse than that, it does something to your brain that ruins the game. If you turn the cheat codes off, you become acutely aware that you're now struggling unnecessarily. You can't forget how easy it was, but you don't want it to be that easy because it takes all the fun out of it. But now the inability to unsee what you've seen creates a tension that causes you to lose interest and even continuing to play. The magic is gone, you've broken the spell. AI is doing this to life, and the societal consequences are going to be enormous. And I think he's exactly right. It is. Lots and lots of spells are now being broken. A lot of people are going to suddenly be like, wait a second, hold on. What am I doing? What's going on? I've just been like going through the motions and just normal, ordinary, comfortable life. And suddenly this super disruptive thing shows up and just totally rattles my cage. Now, for some people, this is going to trigger like a spiral of self-destructive behavior. For others, it's actually going to be a very needed wake-up call. Where you're like, I realize I need to struggle, but also that struggle needs to be meaningful. And if I know that there's this easy cheat code, then this struggle is no longer meaningful unless I choose to make it meaningful. Unless I choose to say, I'm going to intentionally struggle on this thing for the same reason that someone might do like I don't know, they might carve logs with chainsaws or something. Like they're going to intentionally do a thing that's difficult precisely because they want to take pride in their craftsmanship. But for him, obviously, he's like, I can't fool myself into just taking pride in my craftsmanship when I know that I'm just struggling unnecessarily. There's something that's calling out to him. Something that's saying, your attention should be focused over here. You should take advantage of this, freeing up your time and attention to go do something else. Some other examples. This guy here vibe coded an AI survival app that works completely offline. The app gives you survival advice completely offline, cites exact pages from manuals stored on the device, has offline maps so you're never lost, lets you text people up to 50 miles away with no cell service. It started off as an app, but now he's selling physical devices. It's waterproof, under 3 pounds, and strong enough that you can run it over with a car. The app hit 14,000 users and became the world's #1 rated survival AI. And here is just a little video of it. This little device this guy made. So now this guy can produce something like this. He can vibe code something like this. He could even potentially, he could either go find a supplier for the hardware here, or he could 3D print it. Write out the models. He could even use the AI to give him the blueprints to 3D print it in the first place. And suddenly you could have one single guy who could control a huge amount of the entire supply chain, the entire infrastructure of his business. And he can run a huge business out of his house with just him and like whatever few people he needs to help him with it. We've been in the age, ever since the Industrial Revolution, we've been in this age where powerful organizations are defined as the ones that have the most people involved in them. There's like this correlation between people and size and wealth. But what the combination of the internet and then AI and 3D printing and all this stuff, what this is going to do is, like, eventually we're going to have, in the not too distant future, we're going to have our first billionaire solopreneur. That will actually happen. And then there will be many different billionaire solopreneurs. Even having a tens of millionaire as a solopreneur would be amazing. But this is the sort of leverage that's coming online for us. Here's another example. Josh Dawes here says, this is what I'm talking about. This guy didn't outsource his thinking to a machine. He used AI to solve a problem and build a business. So this is Jason Walls. He says, yesterday Mark Cuban reposted my work, DM'd me, and told me to keep telling my story, so here it is. I'm a master electrician, IBEW Local 369, 15 years pulling wire in Kentucky, 0 coding background. I didn't go to Stanford, I went to trade school. Every week I'd show up to a home where someone just bought a Tesla or a Rivian. And every time someone had already told them they needed a $3,000 to $5,000 panel upgrade to install a charger. 70% of the time they didn't need it. The math is in the NEC, section 220.82, load calculations. But nobody was doing them for homeowners. Electricians upsell, dealers don't know, and the homeowner just pays. I got angry enough to build something about it. I found Claude. With no coding experience, I just started talking to it like I'd explain a job to an apprentice. Here's how load calcs work. Here's the NEC code. Now help me build a tool that does this. 6 months later, ChargeRight is live. Now it says the account is suspended. Real software, Stripe payments, PDF reports, NEC 220.82 calculations automated, $12.99 instead of a $500 truck roll. I'm still pulling wire. I still take service calls. I wake up at 5:05 a.m. for work, but something's shifted. Yesterday, this woman, Vivi, published my story as Claude Builder Spotlight #1. Mark Cuban saw it, the Claude community showed up, and for the first time I felt like this thing I built in my kitchen might actually matter. I'm not a tech founder, I'm a dad who wants to coach Little League and be home for dinner. I just happen to build something that helps people. If you're in the trades and thinking about using AI, do it. The barrier isn't technical skill, it's believing you're allowed to try. So evchargeright.com. He's just got his website here. Can your electrical panel support an EV charger? Get a NEC 220.82 load calculation in minutes to understand your panel capacity. Little start your assessment thing. So just vibe coded himself up an app that he's continuing to use alongside his blue collar job. This one. This man used ChatGPT to sell his house in 5 days. He got 5 offers in 72 hours. No real estate agents, saved so much money doing it too. He used AI to price the house by researching neighboring properties for sale, wrote up the legal contract, saving him $500 an hour lawyers, and the best part, he marketed the fucking property for him. Usually you pay real estate agents for their network of buyers. ChatGPT did all of this. I honestly thought salespeople would be hard for AI to replace. You need to know people, but apparently not.
After 15 years in his Cooper City home, Robert Levine decided it was finally time to sell. But instead of contacting a real estate agent, he turned to the power of the prompt. ChatGPT.
I really wanted to challenge myself to use AI for the entire journey.
I've got bad news for you.
Not just piecemeal, every
You're Jewish.
step along the way.
The married father of 3 says he used artificial intelligence for everything. The planning, the pricing, the marketing, even the paint.
We repainted a couple of rooms in the house because ChatGPT said that's where you're going to get the biggest return on investment. The most important thing it did for us was build out a timeline. Here's when you need to start packing your house.
ChatGPT helped Robert design the marketing materials like his open house handout and the online listing.
Yeah, he totally looks like knockoff Howard Lutnick.
Then told him how to get his home listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, scheduled his showings, and suggested the best day to list his home.
We ended up listing on a Tuesday.
Turned out to be terrific timing.
And I think within the first 72 hours, we had 5 offers on the home already, which was tremendous.
The Levines still held the open house scheduled for that following Saturday, but by Sunday morning, 5 days after listing their home, they had a signed contract. A contract generated by, you guessed it, ChatGPT.
It's exceeded our expectations.
Robert did hire a lawyer to review the contract and other legal documents, but other than that, his AI assistant did all the heavy lifting. So why did he do it? One of his biggest motivations was saving money.
You don't
We estimate that leveraging these AI tools will save us about 3% of the total sales.
Just incredible. Just incredible. Someone says, me, chat, why did you put a clause in the contract promising that I would pay for all future repairs? ChatGPT, good catch. I shouldn't have presumed you would want that, me, but I already signed. This is Slutty Milk was talking earlier about how he was able to basically vibe code up a quick little calculator. He had Grok or ChatGPT generate a home shopping calculator for him that has totally streamlined the process for him. If you are not making use of these tools now, you are falling behind. Don't be afraid of them. Yes, there are going to be downsides. Yes, there are going to be, demons in the machines. But would it be better for the demons in the machines to be handled by upright, Christian, moral men of good character, or to be handled by retards? Trust Plan Star says, Labians will take over the world and we will destroy the machines. We will use the machines to take over and then we'll destroy them. Okay. Just a last little. Let's touch. We've engaged your brains. We've made you think. Made you laugh. Now, we must touch your heart. Learned about something called a glimmer recently. It's the opposite of a trigger. A tiny moment that makes you feel good. Coffee hitting right, sun on your face, your dog losing its mind when you walk in the door. Most of us are trained to scan for threats all day. Flip that, start scanning for glimmers. Same exact life starts feeling completely different. So this is your challenge. You must start scanning for glimmers. And I will give you your first opportunity. You could definitely look for threats or downsides or something in this, but look for the glimmers. New Disney Cruise Line debuted a new ad titled Midnight Magic during the Academy Awards on ABC, and it's a tearjerker. The spot follows a father and son sharing a quiet tradition aboard a Disney ship, a ritual that carries their relationship from childhood to adulthood.
You're not sleepy, are you? We're gonna go for a walk.
Can we go for the walk?
Getting ready for the pool? Nah, I'm just gonna chill here. Is that okay? Yep. Hey, Dad. We couldn't sleep.
If only that's how Disney cruises actually were. But I won't ruin the glimmer. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you showing up tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Astrolabe. Make sure you show up tomorrow for another one. Bobby Ball Bags. My wife says, let's have another baby. And Bobby Ballbags accidentally replies to her and says, I don't know, man, I'm Epstooning. Oh, absolute cinema. Incredible content. What a note to end on. I love all you guys. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting the show. Go join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. And I will be back tomorrow for another episode of the Astrolabe. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said,